guys and girls, and welcome to episode 135 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube and on Twitch. And don't forget, you can also catch the show live in VR using big screen TV. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. If you enjoy the show on YouTube, make sure you hit that notification bell and ensure you're subscribed to the channel. We'd really, really appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. And now it's time for me to introduce you to the team. First up, apparently the only way to keep this guy quiet is to sit him down with his Oculus Quest and virtual coloring book. It'll keep him entertained for hours. It's VR streamer, ZimTok5. How you doing?
You motherfucker. Coloring book analogy to... I was like, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Ah, shit, it's me. Yeah, I'm good. It's been a very tumultuous month and a half for me. I'm glad to be back feeling among the living. For a while there, definitely felt like a zombie. But things are finally settling down and able to kind of get back into my tool shed. So felt good. Got my shows done this week, which was like a yeah for me after about a month away from that. Got my racing coming up tomorrow. So yeah, feels good to finally have everything back working with a fresh PC. Things are right in the world again. Well, almost.
Yeah. Zim's back on track.
Yeah, something like that.
It's good to have you back on the show anyway, dude.
Thanks.
We've missed you.
Oh.
I'm going to shed a tear now. Next up, self-isolation isn't a problem for this guy, as he's used to being locked up 24/7. It's the former prison boss. It's Rowdy VR. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, I mean, this is just regular times for me. I'm just playing a little bit more games than I usually do, so it's actually quite nice.
Are you also rolling more cigarettes now, or?
Yeah, you making hookah?
I mean, that's just a daily activity, of course.
Drawing adult pictures to share with your inmates.
Yeah, as long as you don't drop the soap, you can draw them as much as you like.
Wait, is that a thing? Did people draw adult images? Do they like seek out the best?
Dude,
adult...
you need to go watch my series. Like I used to like tell entire stories about my pictures as well. People love my stories.
Wow.
My sexy pictures. Not my sexy pictures, just the one.
He had a Patreon where he sold them.
None of that is true, but yeah,
No.
I agree. No, I'm doing all right.
Good. Loving the background still, by the way. It's totally awesome.
It's. I mean, it depends on how long this situation is going to last, but at least you'll have a nice little background.
The funny thing is that those out there that have never been to London before will be like, "Why have you got a Call of Duty map picture on your wall?" Because people don't know that's actually a real life location. Funny.
Well.
Anyway, next up, this guy's been spending so much time in City 17, they've actually started to charge him rent there. His VR adventurer is, of course, Nathy. How you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, no, I am doing fine.
Yep.
Got a nice apartment.
Yeah.
City 17.
Yeah, Parisian, next to the hotel.
No, dude, like, it's amazing. Plenty of toilet paper, by the way. It's
in
that city, like, there's toilet paper for everyone.
Yeah, no problem there.
Like first the currency was resin, but now the currency is actually toilet paper.
Amazing.
So it's great. And next to using toilet paper for the useful stuff, you can also balance it on your shotgun if you want. Or juggle with it, it's all possible. Or do sick flips. So
amazing.
Welcome to the future of physics in Half-Life.
Yeah. So how many hours have you logged in there now?
So it's now going to the 90 actually.
Wow.
I've still been playing a lot, it still blows my mind that I'm still able to find stuff that I haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Things that other people learn me, where they say like, "Oh, did you see this or did you do that?" Makes you appreciate this game beyond just playing it. It's like I'm almost obsessed by it now. I'm not.
How do you like because you only have like a certain amount of save files? Like how do you jump between? Do you need to play the entire part?
Well, that's a good one. So if we're talking about saves in this game, in short. So the problem with playing this game with saves is that you have a limited amount of saves that you can use. So if you want to go back to certain parts, then you will not be able to. So all the upgrades will not be there. But the funny part is if you restart a game or restart a chapter, you will still get the resin that you collected in that chapter. So that's what it saves. But if you do want to go back to the start with all the stuff you have collected back then and the health, and then you need to rip your save off from your from your folder, save it somewhere, give it a good name, and then save it later again. So that's how I have been doing it. So
nice.
All kinds of moments. Yeah.
That's useful. Nice little pro tip there. Yeah.
Yes.
Very good.
System. Yeah.
Very good. So last but by no means least, myself, the host of the show, Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis. We've got an awesome show for you today. Some of the highlights include the Oculus CV1 is back on sale. Welcome back to the year 2016, everyone. It's been amazing. Iron Man for the PSVR is sadly delayed again. Zim's going to give you the lowdown on the latest releases to look forward to next week, if there is any at all. I'm looking forward to finding out. And finally, we'll be talking about how the global pandemic has affected the VR industry, and Nathan's going to give you the best apps and experiences to stay social during self-isolation.
Stay sane.
Absolutely. But first, let's find out what everyone's been playing this week and the highlight of the week. Obviously, feel free to join in the chat. We always love to find out what you've been up to as well. But let's pass it over to Rowdy first, see what you've been up to this week, dude.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I've played this week is Half-Life. Again, it's the only VR game that I've played. And I had a funny story about it. You know that when you get to certain areas, you sometimes need to teleport down or teleport up in order to get somewhere. You're not able to physically really walk there. But I found out that sometimes when you need to teleport too far down, you jump to your death. So,
Oh, wow.
What?
I just think I find that really interesting that you can jump to your death.
Yeah. So you can teleport, jump to your death. But I found out that if you actually manage to walk into that gap, that you very slowly drift down and you don't die when you reach the bottom. So
That's interesting.
I've been able to reach like certain parts of maps where I'm not supposed to be. I literally broke like a certain map as well because it all looks like very like 3D, and I think they work with a lot of photogrammetry as well in order to make some of the environments. But then when you go past that wall, it just stops there. It's just like emptiness. You have this like giant factory at a certain point that you see, but I don't know if you get there because I haven't finished the game yet. But you see the factory in the distance, and I managed to walk all the way up to the factory. But as soon as I turned the corner and I walked past the initial wall of the factory, it was just like emptiness. And it was so weird to see that because you're so immersed in this kind of like very beautiful graphical world. And then all of a sudden there's nothing there anymore. I've been able to even skip like large parts of the game. And then I didn't realize because like I can jump down here, and I just jump and I slowly glide down, reach the bottom, where you actually need to do like a lot of like different rooms and handles before you actually can teleport to the location.
I guarantee you that because you've just outed that, it's not going to be long that people are going to be able to still do that. So now's the time to try it.
It's been cool to experience that.
Well, that's the thing. Like they're using it for speedrunning at the moment.
Yes, I was going to say that. Yeah,
right,
and the record, I don't know, like it goes fast, like it changes every day, but it's like around 40 minutes whole game. And they teleport like madman, where they just skip floors. They teleport through parts where you're like the NPCs haven't even spawned yet. I do get it. Like it's very interesting to see certain things in the distance that you want to go to, but in the end you can't because the game is so detailed that you are able to do it with teleportation. I think that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
So I've got a stat for you.
The other way around. It was actually that I was able to go to parts because I was climbing on boxes and then jumping over a fence that I wasn't supposed to jump on, and then like I managed to reach like parts of the map. And sometimes you do hit like an invisible wall kind of thing.
Yeah.
But not always.
So I've got a stat for you, which I was going to tell you later, but I might as well tell you now because we're talking about speedrunning the game. But yeah, the current world record for speedrunning Half-Life Alyx has been set by a YouTuber called Syke, which is spelled Sychke. You can check out his YouTube channel. And he did it 2 days ago, I think, setting a record of 35 minutes and 17 seconds. And using exactly the methods that you were just talking about, Rowdy, you know, like glitching through the map, going to areas that you shouldn't be. But it's hilarious to watch, you know, them take advantage of these little loopholes in the game.
There's, like even at the start where there is the first door, he puts like a chair in front of him, then he kind of bumps into it, then goes backwards, and suddenly he's through the door. I'm like, how does this even? How do you even? It's like a magic trick that I never heard about.
It's so awesome, so awesome. So nice one. You've been enjoying yourself then in City 17 as well.
I've been taking my time with it though. Like I've set it to the highest difficulty because I really want to experience this game. And
nice.
The beginning was a little bit like, ooh, this isn't that hard, but it does get like a lot harder. When you get different kind of enemies. It's been really nice. I've also managed to half set up my GTX 2080 Ti, so I've been trying it with that. But in a setup that isn't really optimal.
Is that connected to a laptop?
No, it's in a desktop that I've managed to put it. Yeah.
I was like, wait, half set up and try? Like, how do you half set up a graphics card?
I mean, I don't have a screen set up. It's just like a basic computer, but like with a beast of a graphics card in it. I installed Steam on that, and then I managed to to get it running as it's supposed to run. I'm still getting frame dips though. If I put it on like a little bit even on lower graphics, I still see frame dips.
Interesting.
But it's mostly in like very heavy populated areas. I don't see it anywhere. And it dips to like 70 because I'm playing on Oculus. Should be 80, but sometimes dips to 70 in specific locations.
Interesting.
First world problems.
Yeah. So what about you then, Zim? What have you been up to, the last couple of weeks? You know, you're taking it easy all this time, playing all these VR games. You know, what have you been doing?
One week was pretty much off, and this last week I've done all my shows, did a bunch of indie stuff. I want to highlight one studio and two things they've done, both of which are relatively short experiences, but I was kind of floored by both of them. The first, so they're both from the studio Atlas V, and the first one is called Ayahuasca. We covered it on releases probably about 6 months ago now. Maybe not. Maybe it was back in January when there was originally. Sorry, not on Ayahuasca. I'm thinking of the second one. I'm going to think about. It was a limited time release only on Vive. The second one I'm going to talk about is Gloomy Eyes, and that one was held to that platform for just like a month. Which I find really weird. But ayahuasca is basically a Peruvian spirit walking drug trip experience, and
nice.
It like I didn't expect.
It's been a while since I had those.
It's I've done a lot of meditative apps and stuff. Like you said, Mike, I did Color Space as well, which, although it looks pretty, is like. I just wasn't attracted to it all as an app. Like I don't think I could even muster more than 10 minutes in that now. There's just certain things about it. Like they put so much polish into it and it looks great, but it's just, there isn't something to intrigue me there. And the difference here is 3D spatial audio with this real guttural like vocals, and you're being wrapped around as you're losing your consciousness in the middle of this Amazonian forest with like snakes wrapping around you. I wouldn't say they're necessarily anacondas, but fat body snakes just twisting around you. You're seeing centipedes, millipedes.
Do they also hypnotize you in a way?
Yeah, I mean, there are certainly sections of this that you get to feel really weird. Like by the end of the experience, and I think the audio has to play a part of that. You just feel so drained, like. In a good way, and also kind of de-energized, which feels really weird. It's quite a meditative thing, but it really struck me at the end of a tough week, like, holy shit, this is really quality, and I wasn't expecting it. So that's one that if people are like really stressed out right now, ayahuasca is something that I would recommend.
And where can they find this again?
It's a Steam game. That's experience. I thought it was actually supposed to be quite short. It's about 25 minutes. I played through it twice, and that ate up an hour. So it is the same thing. There isn't like a procedural element to it, but even running it twice, I found it quite interesting. And I thought it was like an 8-minute run, and it was 25 minutes when I thought it was only 8 had passed. And it was just superb visuals, and there are some transitions in that are really fantastic, like a music video.
How do you spell it, just for people that want to search for it?
Good question. I did write this down. So go on.
This like reminds me of the Icelandic one that you were talking about as well.
Yeah. So the Icelandic one is quite empty, and it's like the Icelandic one, which is, if you just type Iceland VR into Steam, you'll find the one which is Middle Sander. That one is like, take 20 to 40 minutes to explore a gorgeous fog-rich environment, and that one's more take at your own pace. This one is a set track, so it's like if you were listening to, it feels like it's a real jungle vibe, but it definitely gives you that kind of drug trip feeling right the way through, and by the end, it does a transition that is just really kind of mind-blowing, and it leaves you feeling like an empty husk. It's great. I really appreciated it, and I think it's about 12 quid or something on Steam. It's spelled Ayauaska and pronounced ayahuasca. So that was that. And then, lo and behold, I didn't even know this. The guys had produced Gloomy Eyes, which is a tale which is narrated with lovely vocals by Colin Farrell, who's an Irish actor. And it's kind of like a, human zombie love relationship done in a Tim Burton-esque environment. But the detail is, I call it pixel blob level. Like, it is, if you didn't have like a Rift S or an Index, I think you'd miss a lot of the detail they put into this. And they use the volumetric space around you with such shocking level of detail. I have to just applaud it, because I think Tim Burton would look at this and be like, wow, lads, you did that justice. And it's not robbing from that territory. It's just the art and the style is so great. But the fact that they use the volume around you, like, you need, I would say, 2 meters by 2 meters space to really appreciate the scene. If you stand still, you'll miss a lot. There's a little puppy. There's these characters going around. It feels like a Pixar film. And it's done in 3 chapters. So that one is a kind of similar price range. And again, it lasted me maybe about a half an hour through the 3 segments, but they're both just amazing. So
yeah, Gloomy Eyes has been on my little radar for a while now, but it's like a cinematic adventure that you just kind of sit and watch, right? You don't actively
get involved, but you can definitely miss pieces of it. I love that the story isn't like a Pixar film, and I won't go further than describing it that way. If you remember my recommendation for Wolf in the Walls, anyone who picked up on that, played that, and liked it, this
that was amazing.
Along the same lines. Like, it's visually stunning. It's something different from what you've seen. It looks kind of like Lucky's Tale-esque, but let me tell you, the interactivity side of it, not in terms of you triggering buttons or doing things, but in terms of walking around the diorama, the scene, and like getting your head down or ducking or having to look up, that kind of stuff, really well done. So I have to, again, take my hat off for Ayahuasca and Gloomy Eyes. I had no idea they were the same studio. I just happened to do them at the same time. And
that's awesome. Especially because I loved Wolf in the Walls so much. I thought it was incredible cinematic experience. So if you're saying it's on the same level as that, then I definitely got to go and check this out very soon. Yeah. So nice recommendation, Gloomy Eyes. Nice one. What about you then, Nathan? What have you been up to this week then, dude?
Yeah, so let's go to the chat first.
Sure.
Watto UK has finished Alyx. He said it was epic. Then he finished it again, or actually he's on his 2nd run at the moment, taking Chomsky all along with him for the ride.
My son.
Yes, your son.
Yeah.
If you don't know yet, Chomsky is Mike's son.
Yes.
Spoiler alert. So I just spoiled you with something very important. Then we have Marwick, who says, Jeff has made me return to No Man's Sky again. I don't know what that exactly means, but that's up to you to figure out. Then we have Vert Chill VR, who played Beat Saber, and Cave Digger. Yeah. still, like Cave Digger seems to be popping up from
I
time
like
to
Cave Digger.
Yeah,
I'm a
it's
fan.
classic.
Well, especially in these times, Cave Digger is a pretty
Yeah.
interesting one to dive into. Then we have gaming science teacher, trying to get off my butt a little with Beat Saber and working on planning VR equipment for my school's new tech lab.
Nice. Got you covered later on with some fitness tips for VR, so stay tuned for that.
Yes, and also, Zim was talking about VOG-rich environments. Well, stay tuned for that too.
Nice.
And then we have Dave the Psycho, who has been playing Lies Beneath and Guns and Stories. That's about it. Oh, and due to time overload, came back for some past flat screen titles. Yeah, I don't know which ones, but flat screen titles are also kind of nice.
Yeah. Plenty to play at the moment as well, flat screen.
Oh yeah, it's true. It's like flat screen is definitely competing with VR at the moment, but it is nice to see people talking about Animal Crossing, about Doom, and then also have like Alyx in that lineup. And usually in the VR scene, it's like, who cares? And now suddenly it's like almost every gamer I've seen on Twitter has said something about a VR game, and that's truly special, I would say. It's still amazing that all of that happened last week. It still blows my mind how this all blew up in a way. I've seen reports of news articles saying that the numbers are going down really rapidly at the moment, but in terms of like how many people have played it, how many people got into Steam VR, I think we should be very, very proud as a VR community. And maybe outside of that, people say like, yeah, so Half-Life Alyx can't even save the VR industry with its game. It's like, I don't know what expectations people have, but it feels like the whole PC VR market just started with this game. It's like it just started taking off now with something that people can really get back into and say like, wow, this was like a hell of an experience.
Yeah, and I've got some awesome stats to share as well for the game later on, which you want to stay tuned for.
Yeah, you should definitely stay for that because they are, pretty impressive. So what I have been playing is, of course, Half-Life. I haven't really done anything else. I'm working.
You haven't left City 17. You've just been jacked in, eating, sleeping in there.
Yeah, no, I
huddled up with a head crab, finding a nice warm dustbin, having a nap.
Oh yeah, no, those head crabs, they still get me. They're still scary. That's one thing. So what I wanted to talk about is that what I've seen is that people have been, playing a lot of Half-Life in 2D as well. They have been modding it now to the point where it's almost like perfect. It looks like a legit like 2D Half-Life game if you just look at it from a distance. Of course, if you follow the interactions and the things that happen in the game, then you can see that it doesn't make any sense. But it's what I was scared of is that people would just praise it to the heavens and say like, wow, this game is even a must play in flat mode. Seems like that's not the case, and we were already sure about that because it's a game built from the ground up for VR, and turning that into a pancake title, it's possible. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but now after people have been playing it for a while, they're like, yeah, maybe I should be waiting with this one. Maybe I should, keep that magical moment until I do have a VR headset, or when in the future arcades open again, because Half-Life Alyx can also be licensed for arcades. So I'm happy that people get the insights now.
Yeah, for sure. You'd be doing yourself a disservice. And Paradise Decay is kind of like making a comment, which was a really popular tweet that went out, saying like playing Half-Life Alyx in pancake mode is like visiting Disneyland in Google Street View. And it's a really good analogy because the experience doesn't even compare, doesn't even come close to what it's like playing in VR. So I really appreciated that tweet.
I gotta say, it's like what I said in last episode as well. When I had like back in the days, I had a discussion with like some like flat games about like Half-Life Alyx and why it can't be a regular flat game. And I gave the example of like, picking up the gun, like moving the bullets aside, what we saw on the trailer, picking up the bullets, putting it in your gun, reloading it, and then shooting someone. And the guy's response was like, for starters, I would just press E, and then the mechanic would start and do that. And I'm like, yeah, but don't you get that that's not the same thing? But a lot of people don't.
But it's not only that, it's like how the enemies are attacking you, how they respond to you, how the characters look at you.
It's so slow
in a certain way. Right? And true. And that's like the biggest point, that the game has been kind of slowed down in a way where you can, enjoy it. Because, when we spoke about the game last week, we said that it's not a frustrating game. It's also not a game that is super hard in any way. It's like nicely balanced out, but it would be too boring to be a 2D game in terms of its difficulty.
Yeah, definitely. I think so too. I think that indeed, like the slow pace really suits this game very well, because it feels again more immersive and more natural. Because if it was actually there, well, maybe I would be running at some parts, but I wouldn't be running through the game, or through the atmosphere. But yeah.
But this shows that cross-platform VR games who support PC players and VR players at the same time is almost impossible, or a challenge in a way. You can't make a flat screen game a VR game. You can kind of, but then still the other way around, it doesn't really work. So no, I'm just happy that this is kind of like happening, because I was just so scared that people are just like, yeah, this is great. So you don't need a VR headset anymore. Just download this little mod and go for it. Where I was like, it's just, I'm so into VR that I feel sorry for the people trying it. And every game I would, play in the future that requires certain hardware stuff, like, I'm a responsible gamer who waits to play it. Mm-hmm. And then, I try it.
I'm going to frame that one. I'm a responsible gamer.
Yeah, I'm a responsible gamer, man. That's me.
Responsible gamer. I don't know. It's weird that they're modding it into. I mean, I get it, right? Anytime you've got a preventive means that says you can't come in,
it's two
people
reasons.
Are going to want to break that, right? It's the same deal of if you're a kid and you're like, you can't come into my treehouse. You're going to find a way.
It's like what we spoke about last episode. It's two reasons. Some people just don't have the money to afford a VR headset, and they still want to play it, so they do it now. They just try these mods, and then they find out that it's maybe not the way to go. Then others just use it as revenge against Valve, saying like, so you make this VR exclusive? Well, I will find a way to play it anyway.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
So it's like different vibes to that. But it's definitely a passionate community that wants to mod everything, and it has been great to see what people have been doing to the game already. So
I think that's what I'm most excited about, is like when the source engine actually gets open up to the community, what they do with it. I can't wait for that, because if they can, like, I think the game runs so well because of this new engine that they've got. It doesn't run or feel like any other game that we've played before, and that's because they use Unity or Unreal, whereas this engine's built for VR as well as like traditional games as well. But it's got that special sauce in it that makes it like a little bit magical. So I can't wait to see what they do with it.
Specific source.
The magic sauce.
Well, speaking of
source,
and I have to say, I can see why they're not developing, or they're saying they're not developing Left 4 Dead, because I think what they did was they set up all the elements, and they're probably working on Left 4 Dead now.
Yeah.
There's so much in there. It's kind of showing the hand, everything from the room environments, like what they've done with Source 2 and VR. It is not a huge pivot. And to be honest, if you guys know, the development timeline of the original Left 4 Dead was actually quite compressed. Left 4 Dead 2 was even made in less than a year. It's crazy the amount of time that like Valve could put into it. So I'm now re-enthusiasm. That's not even a term. Re-enthusiased that I think that they should be, if they're not, doubling down on that.
I do think it's the hardest one though, because it's a very fast kind of gameplay. It's third person normally.
Well, that was Half-Life 1 and 2 were also fast, and now they're they're still fast in VR, but in a different way. But even if Valve wouldn't make Left 4 Dead, the community does it, because some people have already ported over assets from Half-Life 1 and 2 into the new and they just use that. So they could also just they could remaster Left 4 Dead 2 or Left 4 Dead 1, whatever you like, and just reimagine it in VR.
But I'm 100% sure.
What else do you need?
I'm 100% sure that Flat Gamers also hugely benefit from this, all these assets that have been associated with this. Like there's so many tools that become available with this new kind of game and the Source 2 engine. So I think everyone kind of wins with the release of this one.
Yeah.
True.
Cool. That is Half-Life.
What I played.
Yeah, but we're gonna be talking more Half-Life as well. So if you want to hear some more Half-Life, we're gonna be talking more Half-Life later.
Next on the Half-Life podcast.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be talking about Half-Life again now.
Come on, lads, let him have a turn. He's got to be talking about something.
I've been playing with this week. So for the audio listeners, this is a haptic feedback pistol. This is called the Pro Volva. It's a pretty badass, meaty looking pistol.
It's like a spin-off of that other Pro Tube thing.
Yeah, that's right. So
it sounded like you said Pro Vulva. Please tell me it wasn't the Pro Volva.
It's not the Pro Volva. It's the Pro Volva.
Yeah, but for the audio listeners, it kind of looks like the assault rifle from like Halo, but then like squished together.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of like Judge Dredd's Peacemaker or whatever his gun's called. Pretty badass. So yeah, basically, like you guys said, it's very similar to the Force Tube, which is Pro Tube's recoil rifle gun stock, but this is condensed down to a single pistol now. So it's got like a pistol grip, which you just like kind of slot your controller into, and then you've got this kind of recoil motor, which then delivers like 60 newtons of haptic feedback force. And yeah, it's a compact little sort of pistol basically, and I've been using that in a few different VR games. So I've been playing it with Gun Club on the Oculus Quest, and Pistol Whip and Half-Life Alyx on the Oculus Rift S.
Bluetooth connected to that?
Yeah, so it connects to your Quest and PC using Bluetooth, and it's got an internal rechargeable battery, whereas the Force Tube had those like batteries that you had to slot in yourself. These are internal now, so they're all contained within the device, and you just recharge it using USB-C, which is, a little improvement there. But the cool thing is, like playing this with the Quest, for example, like Gun Club has actually got native support for this baked into it. So all you need to do is pair it via Bluetooth to your Quest, load the game, and it works. Simple as that. With the PC, it's a little bit trickier because like Pistol Whip and Half-Life Alyx, they don't have native support. So you have to use like a Pro Tube compatibility tool, which they've supplied, which basically does some like magic to intercept the rumble signals to your controllers and then uses those to predict what it might be in game and then delivers rumble and haptic feedback that way. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. So Pistol Whip, it works flawlessly and is incredible actually playing with Pistol Whip because, you only need one controller. So you're holding the grip with both hands, which feels really natural, and you're blasting and getting that recoil, which is super, super nice. Whereas in Alyx, you do get the recoil in the right moments when you're shooting, but you also get the recoil when you're opening doors or reloading, which then doesn't feel quite natural. So yeah, the best experience was totally Pistol Whip using this. Having that sort of that feedback while you're shooting just makes you feel like a badass. And when you're squatting and swinging around this 900 gram weight in your hand as well, it really is a workout.
900 gram, feck's sake. How long did you play for?
So I played about 2 hours.
Holding a kilogram of pasta. And how, like, what's the moment arm like? Sorry, that's technicality here, but like how far out is the weight?
So yeah, it's not particularly balanced. It's quite front heavy. And to put it into perspective, like this weighs the same as a fully loaded Glock pistol, like a real life one. So in terms of that, it's like 1-to-1. And this is what Pro Tube were actually aiming for, because this isn't really necessarily designed for consumers in mind. It was designed for VR arcades as like a special accessory or for training purposes for like military or law enforcement to do training with, to get that kind of like feedback, and plus so people could see as well that are just watching these training scenarios go on that you've actually fired a bullet.
Sorry, I'm picturing now like police, right, training people in Pistol Whip, and then people like breaking into a dance floor and just shooting everybody. Like it's like that. We got to be careful how we blend training with gaming. All right, I'm just gonna be careful there.
Yeah, so that's
that balance right then, though, I think, right?
That's the thing. Like, yeah, exactly, and but it's to simulate the weight alone, I think is useful, even just because it is tiring carrying firearms around, having some limited experience with it. But I will say that, the recoil that this provides isn't anywhere near as powerful as a real firearm. We've got to get that clear. It does provide some nice feedback, but it's not going to, real jolt your hand like a real firearm would. So overall, I thought it was a really cool little accessory. It's going to be expensive though, so just bear that in mind. Like I said, it's not really ideal for consumers. And the way I kind of summarized my sort of overall thoughts on the device is that kind of reminds me of like a Desert Eagle, right? It's big, it's bulky, it packs a bit of a punch, but you wouldn't want to use one every day. Do you know what I mean? Like you would use a Desert Eagle for a bit of bling at the fire range, but you wouldn't want to shoot a Desert Eagle every day at the firing range. Same deal with this. It's really fun to use every now and again. You wouldn't want to use it all the time in VR gaming.
Say that to Counter-Strike players.
If you use a Desert Eagle every day.
Yeah, exactly.
CS players love the Deagle. I don't know what you're talking about.
In Counter-Strike, they just do this, like flippity floop floop floop, and then
flippity floop floop, yeah. But that's the thing, like in real life, you're never going to be wielding a Deagle, running around.
Dual wielding, you would, right? Dual wielding.
Dual
wielding. That's the only way. Of course. Yeah. You'd have to have like proper guns on you, like, and I mean muscle guns, not real guns. Yeah.
So you need guns and guns. You need two sets of guns.
You need guns
or
on your
sets
guns.
of guns. Yes.
Yeah.
I do still have a question.
Yeah.
So confusing.
Is there like a reload module that they want to implement on that? Because that would be cool.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like when I was playing Gun Club, obviously you do have to reload with the other controller.
So where does your controller go then?
Well, you just do the action, of course, in VR.
Okay. But
you don't actually slot anything in. No.
Oh, okay.
And that's why playing pistol whip with it was so much better, because you didn't have to worry. You just have to drop your gun and then raise it back up again, and it just felt better. So I think for VR arcades that have pistol whip, I think it's a really cool accessory. But for consumers, I think if I had to recommend this or the Force Tube, I would say go for the Force Tube, because you can play with the Force Tube comfortably for hours on end. Because it's balanced and you've got two hands to hold it.
It really is. It's comfortable to play with. It's fantastic.
Alyx, I don't think it will work when you need to like switch tools and stuff like that.
No,
that's the thing, because and I've got baby-sized hands. So like when I hold this grip, which is quite chunky, to then put my thumb up to then switch weapons is quite cumbersome. So yeah, like playing with Alyx or other games, I wouldn't recommend it. Pistol whip was definitely a cool experience, but
in Alyx you need like a Swiss knife where you have this thing and then also a multi-tool with like haptics in it, and then switch to a shotgun all in one hand.
The motion of the module on the top, can you show us that? Like that, is that a reconfigurable button? Because if it is,
that would be nice.
Well, what I would configure it for, right? If it was configurable and you could just do that slidey action.
Yeah.
Easy, right? You're playing Alyx.
Action again.
Wait, you're playing action, and it would be a quick save for me. Just quick save, boom, job done.
It's not a configurable button. It's just it just looks cool, and it's part of the recoil mechanism.
So right. So you don't actually. It's not actually a button. Oh, right.
No.
But you can't empty out the chamber like that.
Yeah.
That would be nice. But what games are like compatible with? Because you said Gun Club has native support.
Yes.
And what else? Also Pistol Whip, or is Pistol Whip just, it works just well and that's it?
Yeah, it doesn't have native support, but works perfectly with their tool.
As you said, it needs to be specific to, you just shoot and there's nothing else going on.
Yeah, and they've got profiles for some games as well. Like it would also probably work in Contractors and Onward as well. That also has like Force Tube support, but you have to play with a pistol in the game to make it feel one-to-one. So that's where it's kind of limited, but that's why it's designed for arcades. But I just got they sent one out to play with, and I just thought it was a lot of fun. So
I've never
talk about it.
After being at so many arcades, I've never seen like a pistol version of a haptic gun. Like I've tried a lot of haptic guns, also with the feedback in there, and it's great. And you can slide in. Like most of them use like mixed reality controllers that you can just click into it, because mixed reality proves to be a very good platform to make like arena scaled environments with a backpack. But I've never seen a pistol before, so I'm curious what arcades they are going to aim for. As you said, if they can sell it as a bundle to arcades with Pistol Whip or a certain game, then
there's also another problem. There's a logistical problem as well here, which is you're going to have to cable it to the floor or something. Someone can just walk out with that. It's easy to walk out with that,
Yeah, but usually if you play an arcade, like you have to pay to get in, and then
I know.
Maybe things get stolen. I've never heard.
It's like a box VR. They had all these Vive pucks, and I think
but that kind of ruined it for me. I think I understand that sometimes you have to staple things down, but sometimes I think you have to trust people to a certain degree. It's like the Void. Like you could just run out of that place with the whole rig on, but no one's going to do it.
I don't want to do that. Please, YouTube or anybody, do that.
Please. I'm down, dude. I'm down to do that. For next April, I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
So one thing I want to mention before we move into news and give some props to ProTube is that obviously because all their equipment and accessories are 3D printed, they actually own one of the biggest 3D printing farms in Paris or France or they have 20 to 30 printers going 24/7.
Wow.
So they've actually been helping out with the pandemic, and they've been printing valves and protective equipment for hospitals using their facilities. So I just wanted to give them props to that, because it's one of those things that you see the community making converting snorkels into respirators and ventilators or whatever they're called, and these guys are doing exactly that, making it work. So they're really helping out the community over there. So hats off to them for that. I just want to give them a little props for that.
We had El Backdoor Wonk asking if you tried Beat Saber with it as well.
No, because that gets into the realms of people playing Dark Souls with a Dance Revolution mat. It just gets stupid. So
maybe Robo Recall, because I think in Robo Recall you also do not reload. Right?
Yeah, there's not. I don't think so.
It could potentially work, and like I say, with the compatibility tool, you can try it out with whatever game you want. So it does open it up a bit.
But is this what you have there? Is that a prototype, or are they already selling this, or can you?
So this is a prototype right now. They will be going on sale to the public once they fulfilled all the back orders for the Force Tube. That's their number one priority first.
So what's the price on that? Because the Pro Tube was, I don't know anymore. What was the price on that?
So I think the Force Tube is about 400 to 500 euros. It's quite expensive.
So this is going to be half of the price.
I would say it's probably going to be a similar price. So that's
similar
why.
Price.
Yeah,
you would think that it's. Oh, but it's still the same tech, of course.
It's the mechanism that's the expensive part.
One question, because Mike, you mentioned that has an integrated battery, and you mentioned that as an upgrade. So obviously you're a fan of a device with integrated battery. It's one of the reasons that I put off buying an iPhone for the longest time, not having a battery you could swap out. And I tend to prefer swappable batteries, because then you don't have to worry about charging something up before a session. If it dies, you just swap out for an extra set.
So no, I prefer replacing batteries myself with devices. I prefer the fact that I can swap the batteries over in my Oculus Touch controllers rather than charging my Index controllers.
Yes.
But for an accessory like this that I'm not going to use every day, I don't mind. That's the caveat.
And also, they had some shitey batteries in there.
Exactly.
They literally looked like these Chinese manufactured batteries that were going to blow up in your face.
And they were called fire starters or something like that.
Trust fire. Yeah. Which is I don't trust you at all, actually. That said, right, the in and out of those batteries was quite cumbersome on the Force Tube.
On the Force Tube,
which of course fair enough for what they're trying to do with that. And as I said, I still love that device. But I just wanted to clarify, because there's been some back and forth in the community about, like you said, the Index controllers versus touch controllers and rechargeable batteries. And I'm just curious, what our stand is on that. I'm definitely a rechargeable, replaceable battery guy.
And this was my argument with the whole thing. There is nothing worse than being mid-game with your Index and being out of battery. What do? You're totally screwed at that point. You have to stop. You have to recharge them. Whereas at least with the Oculus Touch controllers, you just swap them over. Job done.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm the kind of guy who never has any batteries in the house. So if that happens to me and I need to swap batteries, I need to get them out of my TV remote control.
Oh my god!
But this is in America, in the States, rechargeable batteries, rechargeable AA or AAA batteries, are not very popular. People just buy, and it horrifies me that people are buying literally cartons of AA batteries and then landfilling them. The heck are you doing?
I'd really recommend the Panasonic Eneloops. They're the rechargeables.
By far.
Yeah.
Yeah, great technology.
So now we've been going on for 45 minutes. We haven't even started the news yet. Thanks, guys.
Actually, correction. It's what is it? 53.
Yeah.
Now?
Everyone, cancel what you're doing today because it's going to be a long one.
Oh God. Oh God.
Okay, so let's get into some news. First bit of news is going to be, oh God.
What is this news?
First bit of news is about us, believe it or not.
What?
It's a bit of an update.
Oh.
I mentioned this at the end of last week's show.
News, right?
And the news is that there's not going to be an FReality podcast over the next 2 weeks. Okay. So
I didn't know that.
the next 2 weeks, there's not going to be a show.
Am I getting paid still?
No.
Shit.
You're on furlough.
I don't even know what that word means. Someone said that to me. I'm like, what is furlock?
Temporarily unemployed.
Temporary.
Yeah.
All right.
Rowdy hit it on the
I'll
head.
call NASA. It's all right.
So we've done 135 episodes now, every Saturday for over 2.5 years. We've never missed an episode, but I think with everything going on in the world right now, the timing is right. Now we're not going to be just kicking back, taking a break. We're not going to be doing that. We're actually going to be meeting up during these weeks, and we're going to be talking about how we can improve the show moving forward. We've already got a few things in mind to tweak it and improve it. But what I would ask is that if you're a loyal fan of the show, I know there's plenty of you out there, that if you could just give us some feedback of what you would like to see improved, that would be really helpful. And while we're taking this time, we can implement it quickly because it's difficult to iterate while we're still working. So during these 2 weeks, we can improve as much as we can. So if you watch it in VR using big screen, or you listen to the audio version, or you watch us live on YouTube or Twitch and you enjoy the show, just give us some feedback of what you'd want and we can try and implement it as best we can. So if you want to give us some feedback, the best way to do it is send us an email, which is contact@freality.tv, or just tag us in a Twitter post.
Or after the show, you can also leave maybe a comment.
On the video. Yeah, that's a good way of doing it as well. Yeah. So the Twitter is @FRealityCrew if you don't follow us on Twitter already. Yeah. So it's only 2 weeks. We're not actually stopping the show. It's just like a little bit so we can improve.
You just don't get to see us. We're just being selfish, is all.
Yeah, we get to see each other still, though. Yeah.
So we're going. Podcast is now in self-isolation.
Isolated from you guys, yeah.
So we will be back on the 25th of April. So if you really, really miss us, just mark it in your calendar, and we'll be back on the 25th.
Or you listen all the episodes back and do a binge listen.
Yeah.
Holy shit, lads! Oh my God, I'm gonna have releases. Is gonna be insane. It's gonna be. It's
gonna be an hour-long releases episode. So enjoy that. But yeah, I just thought we'd let you know, give you the heads up, because obviously we appreciate all the support. We appreciate everyone tuning in every week. Obviously the last couple of weeks notifications on YouTube have been broken. Thankfully they've been fixed this week, so we're back to normal pretty much.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think it's a good time for us to just level up the show, improve it as much as we can, and reach a bigger audience, as big as audience as we possibly can, because there's plenty more people out there that just aren't aware this show even exists right now. So we're going to be working on fixing that.
Yeah.
So that's the first bit of news.
Wow.
Next bit of news.
We're gonna fix people who don't know about the show.
We're gonna drag them in by their eyeballs. Yeah. More sad news, though. Sorry to say, because unfortunately, Iron Man on PSVR has been delayed. It's the next bit of news this week.
Oh, I thought you were going to say VR is dead. Officially.
No, it's not dead. It's not dead.
Not
still
yet.
alive. Still alive. Yeah. I think it's more alive than it's probably ever been right now.
Yeah, okay. We're good.
But yeah, Iron Man sadly isn't. Spoiler.
Iron Man,
sorry.
You mean Iron Man person, Iron Man, or just Iron Man?
Both are dead right now. So we talked about this a few months ago on the show, because originally the game was due to release in February and then got pushed back to May. And we were like, fair enough. These things happen. Hopefully they can improve the game in this time, maybe add a little bit more polish. But sadly, this week we got another update, but this time from PlayStation Direct on Twitter. And they said that Sony Interactive Entertainment has made the difficult decision to delay the launch of The Last of Us Part 2 and Marvel's Iron Man VR until further notice. Logistically, the global crisis is preventing us from providing the launch experience our players deserve. So sucks. So Last of Us 2 Part 2 as well, which really sucks, because that was a game I was really looking forward to as well. But both games have been delayed indefinitely. No word on when they're going to actually launch.
Wow.
Okay.
But this really sucks for PSVR owners because there's not many games on the horizon right now to look forward to. And this was one of the big ones, one of the most anticipated, I would say, for the PSVR platform moving forward. So it does really suck. But you've actually played this one, right, Nathan?
Yeah, I did. So what was the first release date again? Was it
February.
Yeah, February, yeah, exactly.
And then it was going to be mid-May.
Yeah.
But they're still releasing it, right? It's not going to be
That's not going to be cancelled. It will come out eventually, but we just don't know when. Yeah.
You know, as devs, you can't be together in an office at the moment. It's super hard to finish your game, or you know, and also PlayStation, Sony has so much going on. You know, with the 5 coming, hopefully.
I wouldn't be surprised if that gets delayed as well. And same with Xbox. I wouldn't be surprised.
It's like there's a lot of knock on here. I think one of the good things is that those who sell remote access services like Citrix and the like, God, they are going to be rolling in it after all of this. Because I'll tell you, developers typically, if you ask a common developer, right, who's got a job, they've got their machine in the office, they're doing that work, but whatever they use to kind of share files and keep the code, you know, together, is tied to the office. A lot of that, right? So it's very interesting to see the kind of places where this this falters.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I did play it at Gamescom. You know, you remember Gamescom was like an event you could go to with people, you know, with like 350,000 gamers at the same time. You remember Oculus Connect? It's like a very ancient event from the past where people would, you know, go with a plane. You know what a plane is? And they would go to California, you know, to check out some VR with their best friends.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, I know, right? But you know, that's something that people don't do anymore. It's not possible.
Sadly not.
Enough.
Nathan can now run a history class. We had Rowdy does science. Nathan's got history.
You remember PAX? You know, PAX? You know what that is? It's like that one place, you know, where you could play video games, you know, physically.
Yeah, with Justin Roiland.
Exactly. You know, sitting next to him and give him a hand, a firm, you know, actual hand. You could feel his hand. You know. Now it's
going to be a 6-hour-long episode.
Okay, but yes, Gamescom. So I played it at Gamescom.
This is why we have to. This is why we have to meet up behind the scenes to stop this. To stop this.
Sorry, I'm a little depressed. Okay, but
this is what we need to change.
So I did play it, and you know what?
He won't be back. That's the change. Sorry, spoiler.
That's what I said. Like under construction, that means. Well, good luck finding someone else that is more awesome than me. But hey, so I played it at Gamescom, and you know what? Screw it. Let's go to the next.
Just was it good? Was it good or was it not?
It was very good. It was very good, and it's a shame it's delayed. And now you can play this very good experience that I tried right now.
Yeah, everyone's giving you Rip Nathy in the chat. Which,
well, they should.
Press F to pay your respects. Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh God. So hopefully, with all this going on, the team at Camouflage at least can add a little bit more polish maybe to the game in the meantime. Fingers crossed.
You're a very positive man. I appreciate that.
I know. But when we hear some more about the game, we'll obviously let you know. But that won't be in the next 2 weeks.
I thought in the upcoming year.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay, so that is PSVR Iron Man delayed. Okay. Sad news. Sad news is over now. We're getting into happy news now. So
are you sure?
You'll enjoy this.
It better be.
It's actually a bit strange because this week Oculus have stated that the original Oculus Rift CV1 is back in stock and back for sale, which is super weird.
Back from the dead. Back from the dead.
Yeah, it's super strange because we all know that obviously the Oculus Quest and Rift S have been out of stock since Christmas, and I'm sure like the pandemic has also delayed manufacturing since then because everything gets manufactured in China. So yeah, we don't know when these headsets are going to be back in stock, but it seems like they're bringing back the CV1 just to deplete their old stocks and give you something in the meantime if you're really waiting for a headset. However, they have added a new feature to the website, by the way, now that if you're desperate for a Quest or a Rift S, that you can now press the Notify Me button, so you won't. So you'll get notified when they're back in stock, and then you can buy one straight away instead of having to check in periodically to see if they're in stock, which is good.
So refurbished means that I once had a Rift S.
They're not refurbished. They're brand new.
Brand new. Yeah,
these are brand new.
This is replacement stock, Nathan. This is what they hold in case someone's CV1 breaks and they have to give them one.
Yeah, I thought that it was first that, when something broke and then they keep it and then they're like, here's like we fixed it and that's what I thought with refurbished. But okay, yeah.
So I've got a question for you. For those of we've all got Rift S's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have any of you ever gone back to the original CV1 after getting your Rift S?
Yes.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
How was it?
It's not easy. It's not an easy transition.
No,
It's not a welcome transition. It feels quite. I think the only benefit I would say is that the original CV1 is still, for me, it was a very welcome fit. My face and all that.
I like the fit as well.
Like I really like it. It's not bling in any way. It's just a really simple like black-faced headset. The cloth exterior felt nice. If you use the audio was good. If it continued to work. I like it. So I deployed it on a different machine and had my kids playing with it. I would use it on occasion as a result. But stepping back from the Rift S, this is the whole point. It's the same with the DK2. I remember moving from a DK2 to the CV1 and being like, it's not a huge jump. Like it was like 20% better if I had to put a number to it. And I remember the Rift S kind of feeling similar. But when you go back the other way, it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like it feels like 50% different. Like it feels like it's a much bigger jump. Yeah.
Yeah. And people are asking in the chat if the 10 hertz difference is noticeable, but I don't think it is at all.
No.
And I would also say, personally, I wouldn't go for this deal with a CV1 for $300 because it's $300 and a Rift S is $400. And I would say you're better off holding your money for a little bit longer and waiting for the stock to come in, I would say.
That's the thing. Like, when is the stock gonna come back? How big is the stock gonna be? How long it will take before it's like completely gone again? Like I think people are done waiting. Some people do. Like I've seen someone say, you know what? I wanted to buy a Quest for 2 months now. Still can't buy it. I bought a PlayStation VR instead. So people go for different options because they're like, I want to play in VR. So I just buy what's on the market, and this is on the market.
If that is the case, yes. But if you want the better experience, then I suggest the Rift S compared to
but that's the thing, like how long do you want to wait?
But like the other thing is, right, like if you can't wait, right, or if you just want to get in and play VR, because right now a lot of people who aren't working or whatever, as you said, Mike, furloughed, whatever. Sounds like some professor of something. If you're that, then and you're stuck at home, like think about it this way: $300, right? $300, sorry. Buy a CV1, play with it for a couple of months, flog it on eBay. People are still going to be chewing up VR devices, right? When you can get access to the to either a Quest or a Rift S, and then go for that. Like you'll lose probably $100, right? In that transition, which is not a lot of money to lose. And the thing I have to say, which I found horribly, remember last time I mentioned that I was going to be playing Space Channel 5. I have gone through a horrible cycle now, which is these guys, for the audio listeners, I'm holding up PlayStation Move controllers. They're both battery dead. They will not accept any charge. They are plonkers. You can buy replacement batteries, but I've found the current UK price of these things, £120 for a pair of new.
Yeah,
and they were already high, but they're being driven even further because of where we are. And I'm just like... now I'm like, okay, do I buy some replacement batteries, wait 3 weeks or 4 weeks for them to come to my house? What do I do? I'm stuck. It's so weird. There's not many games that don't use the moves. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I do agree with Mike. Maybe it's not so smart to buy a Rift that is quite ancient by now. But again, like looking at how things are getting postponed, everything from events to all kinds of. You don't know how long it's gonna be, and you like right now people are bored, people wanna, dive into VR. If this is their only option, it's not that bad, okay? And if you're, let's say, getting into VR for the first time and you get this, well, besides the USB hassle that you could maybe run into.
That is exactly what I was gonna say.
Besides that, it's still a great experience, I would say.
Yeah. Sorry, USB hassle being run out of USB ports?
Yeah, you need three.
And you need to extend them maybe and then hope it's...
Yeah.
Well, a lot of laptops don't. The thing I'm thinking, and sorry to connect these two dots here, relatively cheap, decent quality headset, right? Now, free premium account on Pornhub for people lonely at home. If you're stuck.
Okay.
So, or poker or something that doesn't require huge fidelity. Like if you're not gaming it on a top end system, there are other applications that would make a lot of sense for a $300 headset. What if you're going to be stuck in hospital and you have a laptop? The laptop USB thing is definitely a problem. Check if you're going to run on a laptop.
If you're going to go to a hospital, buy over the odds for a secondhand Quest on eBay. You'll find one, but you'll pay more for it, but it'd be worth it for a hospital visit. Like I wouldn't want to go anywhere without that. If I was going to hospital, I'd be taking that with me straight away.
Have to agree. Yeah.
So last but not least, talking about a blast from the past, because I mean CV1, epic headset.
Yeah.
I like the thing I do not really miss are these controllers. First, when I got into the new touch controllers, I was like, yeah, this is kind of small. It's like a baby controller for hobbits or something.
Fits my hand perfectly.
Like it, if you now hold the old one, you're like, yeah, this one is quite heavy.
It is heavy.
This one is very nice and light. The only downside that I still think it has is that magnet part just slips off if you get really into the game you're playing.
Yeah,
but besides that, I think a CV1 would be a good option, and I think it will hold its price. If you want to resell it. So the risk is quite low. Like if you look at the market in terms of headsets, like almost every headset is in demand. Even headsets where we would say like these headsets are not that great, or these headsets are very old. There are still so many people who want to buy it.
I do think that the price is right for the Oculus Rift, but only what I don't think is that the price for the Rift S is not right, because the Rift S is so cheap. I still think that you're better off spending $100 more and waiting for the time being, because I think you'll have ultimately the better experience.
Yeah, same.
So you mean just hold off is what you're saying?
Hold off. Yeah,
that's
wait
what
for Rift S.
If you would ask me, I prefer to hold off and maybe get a Quest instead, and then go for that experience rather than
if you can
going for the
Quest is still tough to find at the minute. I've still got a box CV1 sitting right here. It's under those headsets. Never opened.
There you go.
Factory sealed. Break into Zim's house and steal it. There you go.
There you go.
Giveaway, please.
Rift CV1 back in stock.
Hey, Zim, please giveaway, please. My parents won't give me headset. Can you please?
1 million likes.
1 million. Yeah.
1 million likes on this show, then someone is gonna bot it, and then he has to do the giveaway.
So, next bit of news is about Half-Life Alyx. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, no surprise, but it's doing really well. And the reception from the community, not only just the VR community, but the gaming community in general, has been really, really positive, which is great to hear. So yeah, I've got some cool stats for you to share. And these are taken from SteamDB. So you can track loads of cool, funky stats from SteamDB if you're interested. So on the day of release, which was obviously the 23rd of March, it hit a record number of peak concurrent users playing VR all at the same time. Any guesses or stabs at what that number might have been?
I tweeted it. So
okay, so you're exempt, Rowdy.
Yeah, you're exempt.
Yeah.
Was it
concurrent playing just this title?
Half-Life Alyx, yeah.
It was 43,000, right? And
you literally just read it from the news there, Nathan.
No, I
said it last week.
And 50,000 was like the total on Steam VR, right?
These guys don't know how to play a guessing game at all.
This
I was going to guess
28,000.
I don't know where that. I was just going to guess that. I was going to be far off.
Well, I have to, I can't make any guesses for the upcoming 2 weeks, so I'm just very excited to join this whole quiz, Yeah.
You want to tell everyone the end of Jurassic Park as well?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I ruined it. This is why I'm not going to be a part of the podcast anymore, because I ruin everything.
Oh, God.
This is why the podcast is so long. This is why everything has been so bad lately.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So you're right. It was 43,000. Oh God. 43,000 concurrent users playing Half-Life Alyx all at the same time on the day of release, which was pretty incredible. Really broke all records. To put it into perspective, Beat Saber, for example, which is like super popular VR game, of course, their peak concurrent players is just 4,470 in comparison. So, Half-Life Alyx hit 10 times over on the first day. Of course, that peak has significantly dropped since then. Now on average, I think it's about 5,000 peak concurrent players per day.
Which is still incredibly high.
Yeah.
Because Beat Saber peak concurrent per day is about 2,000. So,
and I know that the highest
double.
peak that VR had before Half-Life was Boneworks with, I believe, 8,000 peak off.
Yeah, so that's pretty incredible, really. Pretty incredible stat. It also topped games on Twitch as well, which is pretty amazing. It hit a peak total viewers of 300,000 on Twitch, which actually tied with Call of Duty Warzone, which is amazing for a VR game to stand toe-to-toe with a game like that. Yeah,
that's hard to do, especially because I would say that Twitch and VR streaming has taken years to even warm up. For years it was a desolate place, unfortunately. As cool as the hardware is, that combination and then streaming it, as opposed to pre-recording it and creating a video, has waned for many years, and it's good to see that kind of number. Them taking down front page is amazing. That's just like, and to be honest, hats off to Valve. This is what quality VR does.
Yeah, and yet we still don't have a VR category on Twitch. They still dropped it.
Don't even start me. Don't even start me, Mike.
It gets him triggered.
They did post some
episode.
They did post some clips on their Twitter, saying like, "Hey, these are the people that play Half-Life Alyx. We like VR so much, we love it." Yeah,
and they're just the same big name gamers that we've seen play every other game that they share as well.
If you look at the comments on there, they were brutal.
Oh really? What on Twitch?
People were ripping into Twitch because then tell me, why did you remove the VR category if you like VR so much? I think that was the top comment.
Good point.
Like Meanwhile, my favorite platform. I'm super biased, of course. YouTube
Mixer
has Mixer. Exactly.
Bebo video.
TikTok.
TikTok. Yeah. So TikTok. Every time I try to say something, you just no. But on YouTube, they have Half-Life Alyx, and when you see someone play the game, Zim, Mike, Rowdy, me, whatever, you can click on that little icon of like this person's playing Half-Life Alyx, then you will go to this page where you have like an overview of live streams that people are doing, let's plays that people have been doing, reviews, also ending material, non-commentaries, gameplay. They have it all. So if you want to kind of look into the bigger picture, you can just go there. So that's kind of nice. Of course, then we're still seeing a lot of the big creators in there.
Sorry,
but I've also seen some VR.
This is on YouTube after you click the link. So
not TikTok. No.
If you've tagged the game to be Half-Life Alyx, and someone clicks that box, it doesn't just take you to buy the game; it takes you to
it never takes you.
I don't think I've ever clicked on that. So why
it's
you're
like
advertising this?
A bot. It's like a bot that collects everything. And as I said, I've seen a mix of creators in there, smaller creators, bigger ones. So it's nice to go in there if you kind of want to get an overview. So compared to Twitch, YouTube does kind of know what's up. Although live streaming on YouTube is also not the most.
It was broken.
Cut their legs out. Yeah, I've definitely noticed it as well. I know we've noticed it with the show. I've noticed it as a live streamer. But I'm kind of. It's very interesting because I still feel like there are very few reasonable platforms that can do VR well. I mean, aside from YouTube, like Mixer and Twitch don't seem to have much clout in that arena because they, as you said, they don't have much that supports it. Or supports seeing it, like from categorization would be a simple way, search discovery. There isn't an easy way to kind of segment it as this new art form. And actually Twitch did it very well for other categories like creative. If you were an artist, they had a police, worthy team of mods and admins who would like cleanse that out if someone was miscategorizing. Why they never did that for VR is beyond me, and that's the biggest sin of this whole thing.
I think it still has something to do, of course, with VR not being big enough, not interesting enough in terms of numbers and things like that. If that becomes bigger, we're gonna see it more. It's not just Twitch; it's also YouTube. We all, even with this podcast, are floating in between all these other categories. VR is still struggling to push into. If you're talking about pure VR content, it's still struggling to get to the audience that it should be.
Yeah, that's true, and that's something that we need to optimize with this show. Exactly why we're going to be talking about that over the next coming weeks. Exactly, because it doesn't have a category of its own on YouTube either. It just gets lumped in gaming or tech, and you get sort of swallowed in with that. So
there's a whole microcosm within this. There's education, right? There's entertainment. There's gaming, and it's like they could very readily create this kind of second, dimension for us. The other thing is, the way that you browse that content at the moment is pretty restricted. Obviously, Mozilla and teams like that are still playing with like VR web browsers, but that's also the change of the web hasn't happened yet because, again, it's not popular enough for us to be wearing headsets all the time.
Yeah, but anyways, like talking about numbers, like Half-Life Alyx was also very well ranked on Metacritic, and also of course IGN gave it a great rating, and other big websites.
Yeah, so IGN gave it a 10 out of 10,
Did they?
which is incredible. On Metacritic, it currently stands in second place as the top ranked game of this year so far. Across all platforms. That's just not VR, that's across all gaming platforms.
What else is up there? Yeah.
So Persona 5 on PS4 is number 1, and then it's followed by Animal Crossing on Switch in number 3. So really huge achievement really for a VR game to have, and it's had 18,000 reviews on Steam. Overall, overwhelmingly positive rating.
But Valve controls Steam, so they could have.
I don't think
they could have blown their own
it.
trumpet. Yeah. Some amazing stats really in terms of the game. So I think the reception that Valve has seen in this game will certainly encourage them to keep pushing forward. I think they would have done it anyway, even if this game wasn't the huge success it is. But I think this will really encourage them to push even further. And like I said earlier on, I just can't wait to see what the community does with this engine once Valve release it into the wild.
If I'm not mistaken, in the IGN interview, Gabe had said that they had essentially financial freedom within this Half-Life IP creation when they were
just
creating Half-Life
because
Alyx.
They don't have any investors. They're completely self-funded as a company.
Right, that was the point he made. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Cheers.
So they can do whatever they want to do. They don't have like a board that they need to appease or release a game at a certain time to hit the numbers. They do it themselves, which is incredible.
So thank you who?
Lord Gaben.
Yeah.
Our Lord and Savior.
Yeah. May your frame rates be high and your temperatures low.
I'm going to give my kind of two-worded review of this game so far. I've only played... It's good.
I wish I could do it.
Great. That's a good review. I like that.
The one thing I wanted to highlight on it is, and I haven't listened back to you guys last week because I'm super spoiler sensitive, and I will continue to be that way until I finish it. But it's the minor details that Valve has done that I think is what really sings for it. So, like, I'll give you one example. The gloves and the pickup mechanic. Not having to bend to the ground and sidestepping in that same motion, fiddling with tracking at ground level across all those headsets. Very smart. Very smart. They didn't just focus on their hardware that maybe can track that fidelity. Some of the older headsets had problems, like the CV1. I remember if you had dropped a grenade or whatever and you went to grab it on the ground, you'd conflict the floor, the mapping wasn't quite right. All those problems, they just got around. And they made the interaction with objects like take as little energy as possible in order, and still made it feel fun. And it's those things that I think really make it a great game so far. From what I've played.
You have a hard time counting, don't you, Zim?
What do you mean?
2 words.
That was the tagline. All right.
This is why we're never going to end this episode because 2 words ends up in like 50 words. Anyway, so that is Half-Life Alyx. Super amazing game, done super well. Industry loves it. We love it. You should love it too. Next and last bit of news this week is about an application called Yure. Spelled Y-U-R. We've talked about this on the show briefly before. And previously, Yure worked as an app on SideQuest. So you needed to load the app, and then it kind of overlaid in games such as Beat Saber and Pistol Whip, for example, tracked your calories burn and how many squats you've done, and used a bit of sort of background algorithm to sort of work out roughly how many calories you've burnt without actually doing it properly. Pretty clever stuff. But now you don't need to use SideQuest, which is awesome, as Yure has developed a purely digital, get this, fitness tracking watch. So it's a virtual fitness tracking watch, not a real one, a virtual one. So when you look down, it's tied to your wrist, as any Fitbit would be.
Wait. So when did this news drop?
Now.
No, but when did they announce this? Because I saw this on April 1.
Well. Yeah.
I saw this on April 1.
No, this is official.
This is official?
Yeah, that's official. It came out on the 31st.
Because
I saw it on April 1. I was like, Yeah.
Oh, no, it came out on it came out on the 30th. It came out on the 30th, so Monday.
But this is real. Like
this is totally real.
Okay, cool.
No, totally real.
So
I'm not
there
kidding.
isn't an iPhone like iWatch or Watch, whatever it's called, Apple Watch app. No, it's only digital.
There is an Apple Watch app as well for this. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, because it integrates with your phone. So let me tell you. So yeah, they've got this purely digital, virtual reality fitness tracking watch. Okay, so right now it's only compatible with 4 games on Quest, which is O-Shape, Racket NX, Synth Riders, and Sorrento. But they're obviously looking to expand that. So these developers have integrated You're into their game. So you select it from the menu, and then as long as you've got an account linked to it, it will start tracking your calories. And then if you've got an account set up on your phone, those calories and your activity will be synced to your phone, and you can then level up. So a bit like what we talked about Box VR, where you can level up your character. Similar concept with this, but you level up your watch. So there's actually your watch evolves.
So that was in there before in the header HUD. I understand the watch is a replacement option for the header HUD.
Yeah, so the header HUD was just like a kind of an integration that they did unofficially, but this is their official version now. That was sort of like almost like a test phase. You can still use that, of course, but they really want to push the watch now because it's a cleaner and smarter integration because it's tied to your wrist, and you always know where your wrist is because you've got the controllers there, so it makes sense.
That's nice.
Yeah,
it's not platform specific. The reason I'm asking is in the beta options or alpha options, experimental in Oculus Home, you have the ability of enabling a digital watch that appears on your wrist, shows you the time, that kind of thing. So I'm wondering about, I feel like the person who has like 4 watches, it's like which one?
Right.
Is there going to be an overlapping issue here with that? I imagine there would be.
Well, right now it only works with Quest.
Which doesn't
right
have that. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So they don't have the overlap issue.
Yeah. So like I said, you register an account, download the mobile app, which is free, and then it's a nice way to keep active, particularly now where we're on lockdown. We can't actually go out and exercise. You've got these 4 games that you can play and get some exercise in, track your calories, 45 minutes an hour each day. Nice little workout for you. And the fact that you can level up as well, and your watch actually evolves. And they were very much inspired by Half-Life Alyx with this feature, that it looks different when it levels up as well. So I think if you hit concurrent days, that's how you level up your watch.
The thing is, though, like Box VR really nailed, for me personally, like they gamified the upgrade program. When you were leveling up, you were unlocking new weapons you could use in the game that you were then using in Box VR. Like there was a reason, there was bait on the end of the hook. If it's just sheerly level up and it just gets more difficult the higher you go, it becomes less and less and less rewarding. And that's the only thing I would say to your is consider what you can do that isn't necessarily just a digital achievement, like unlocking accessories for that watch or something that you can give back to the player to help incentivize them to continue to work out.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have this in regular games.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
VR game, as long as you play it properly, it's a good workout.
I think right now, I think the lineup is a little bit weak. I think they need some stronger games in there. Beat Saber they need, Pistol Whip they need to be in their Box VR. Thrill of the Fight. They're 4 games that come off the top of my head that should definitely have support for this. And I think launching without those almost is a bit of a mistake because I think with those games already supported and delaying the launch would have been smarter for them. I would think it would have given a bigger boost because I don't think there's many people talking about this right now, but I do think it's a really, really neat idea. And obviously the guy that developed this is one of the original founders of Live. And then he moved on and created this. So it's definitely interesting and looking forward to see where it goes in the future for sure.
I think Zim wants to have this in airtone.
In airtone, yeah, that would be ideal to have it in airtone. I don't know if I would delay the
Hatsune Mikuni or whatever it's called, or
Hatsune Miku. The virtual reality dancers. Yeah, we don't need stat tracking in that.
No. just green suits. Yeah. But anyway, so that is it's available now for free. Check it out on Quest. Love to hear your feedback, by the way, if you do get to check it out. Good way to work out as well, especially like I said in this lockdown.
I do think Mike has been using this for a while because look at his muscles.
Look at them.
I've seen an increase.
Ripped.
You have?
Show them.
Should I flex? Yeah, so I do like my pec bounce?
Your Arnold Schwarzenegger moves.
I was dancing my pecs for you there. Wow. So yeah, now we're an hour and 20 minutes into the show. We've only just got through the news. So like I said, get some snacks, Make sure you have a drink. Now it's time for releases with Zim. I have no idea what's going on with releases this week. So
there's too many.
Nothing. Next part.
If there's going to be 10.
I'm catching up. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, you got it, Mike. Good job.
There is not 10.
Wow.
There is not 10.
There is not 10. It's impossible.
Enjoy,
there
Mike.
There's 11.
There are 10. All right. Anyway, let's go.
First
one.
Bonus ones.
Don't worry, I'm not talking in detail about all of them. First thing is a re-release on now coming to PSVR, Alyx Cybernetic, which was on PCVR games previously, and this is launching for $20, £16. It's basically Doom.
But this has been out for so long.
It's been out but now it's on PSVR.
Now, but it's like okay.
Yeah, it's games take time, and actually there's a few in the list. Like they do take time to transition platforms, particularly when you're down sampling to PSVR. Well, anyway, so Alyx Cybernetic is a game that's going to put you in this like immersive, nightmarish. As I said, it's very Doom-esque if you're not watching the video. And the premise is this. Rowdy VR is in your kitchen. What will you do? The right answer is get your guns out, right? So apparently things didn't go so right in this biologically enhanced future. There's a bunch of creatures. You need to shoot them. You guys know how this goes. It's an FPS, right? So if you want to be an action hero, Alyx Cybernetic's going to put you in the seat for that. And if you have dead move controllers, well, like me, unfortunately, you're not going to be playing this, I don't think. So that was it. That's Alyx. Have you guys played Alyx on PC? I did. No one?
Was this the one we tried to play co-op?
No, that's Dead Effect.
No, I have played this one. It's a single player, right?
Single player. That's right. Yeah.
It's been a while.
Any memories of it? Yeah, I think it's been almost 2 years actually.
It looked very good. That's all I know.
I enjoyed it. It was very dark though. It was one of those games that like the Unreal Engine. It looks a little bit like shiny, but then the lighting wasn't quite done right, and it makes it hard to work things out when you're in a dark room. That was one of the things I didn't like about it. But I did like the fact that if you didn't get enough from like Doom VFR, it's like a B-reel of Doom VFR.
It's just like classic VR experience where you have to run around with key cards and open stuff and shoot zombies
exactly.
while you're doing so. That's kind of
it is. It's key cards, guns, shoot things.
Key cards, shooter simulated.
That's it. Top quality. Okay, another one. PSVR, because our friends at PSVR are sad and missing content. So. Final Assault, Phaser Lock I've just launched this on the 31st of March, PSVR. Quite steep price, £23, $28. So, like a cartoony version of Company of Heroes, Final Assault is an action-packed, that's their words, not mine, World War II themed RTS, built from the ground up to capitalize on VR. I would say it feels like lane-based World War II combat, very cartoony, quite an arcade kind of experience. And it's you against another player. There is a battle in kind of 360 degrees around you. You have that like commander position over the battlefield. Again, I'm glad they're bringing it to PlayStation for people who may be an RTS fan. We don't get a lot of RTSs, so this real-time strategy will hopefully feed your need for flak and dynamic fog. That's that. You guys played this? I think so.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit last week about since there was a championship about it.
Okay, yeah.
With K-Lab and Brad Lynch, Kaizen Cherry were in there. So, I mean, it's a great game. It's hard to be good at.
Very good. Okie dokie. So, next up, we've got Lies Beneath, which is interesting because it's a two-part release structure. Some of you have been playing this already, and that one obviously launched on Quest 31st of March, but it's also coming a bit later to Rift. So for those who haven't got a Quest, Rift is going to get this on the 14th of April. I'm actually really keen to see how it does the transition to PC. It's a cel-shaded-y type game, survival horror. A lot of you have probably seen this. As I said, there's been a lot of people talking about it because of its kind of odd style. I'm about an hour and a half into it myself. You guys have any thoughts on Lies Beneath?
I'm not a massive fan.
No.
Yeah, how much did you play of it?
yet.
I'm kind of curious. It does very much feel like mixed reviews from what I'm hearing from some people. Love it, some people are really not liking it.
I think the people that love it haven't necessarily been in VR maybe that long. For those of us that have been here for a long time, it feels like something we've seen before over and over again.
Yeah.
And I think I touched on this last week where we said that I expected more from Drifter as well because I really enjoyed Gunheart. This just feels very safe.
Got it.
For a game. Yeah, I like the art style. I think that's the only thing I do like though out of this one. Maybe it does get better, but 45 minutes in, I was always like, I felt like I'd seen everything the game had to offer, and I don't think that the Rift version is going to get a visual upgrade. I think it's just going to be a straight port of the Quest version. That's just my guess though.
I think the positive here is that, you know, Drifter was able to, you know, work with Oculus to make this game for them. I think Facebook came up with the idea to make a game about this, you know, about this comical style with, you know, zombies and everything. Because usually if studios work together, you know, Oculus comes with the script and then the development studio makes it for them. And I'm saying positive because for Drifter, they have now, you know, funds again to, you know, do other stuff, because Gunheart, amazing game, great game. Still, if you're, you know, into, you know, let's say an RPG with aliens and stuff, it's freaking epic. And so with that money, they can, you know, improve their own stuff. But I feel like if Drifter has to work for a Facebook, and also they worked with HTC, they can't really you know, show their full potential. And with this one, it's the same deal, you know. Even the gunplay, I was like, I know better from Drifter, but I don't blame Drifter for this game being not that great. It's like the plans that they have to work with to make this.
I wonder if you guys felt the same way I did about it, in that like the trailer for me sold it as very much a comic book experience. Yeah. And I did not find, I've done VR comic books before, short things like student demos and stuff, but I didn't find that really was imbued very deeply in the first, like you had it right out the gates with the intro, and then that kind of fizzles away. And I'm an hour and a half in, but what I've heard from people who've played through the full length of the game is that it gets better as you go in, the story in terms of the detail. But like you, I felt a little disappointed in the VR elements of the game, right?
Like if you think about it, like people are saying like, oh, this is like Silent Hill or Resident Evil. It's nothing like Resident Evil. You know, you can't even compare Resident Evil 7 to this game. And that's the frustrating thing. And that game came out how many years ago? And that's my bugbear with this, is that there's nothing new or innovating about this game whatsoever, I don't think, in my mind, certainly from what I've seen. You know, the puzzles, you're just grabbing a hook and putting it on a thing. It's like, come on, guys, seriously. Like, it's just, I don't know. I felt like you don't even reload your gun. You just you pick up ammo and you can put it over the gun, or you can put it over your body and it reloads it yourself. Yeah. And it's like I feel like we've passed this point, but I understand that people are enjoying it. But I do get the feeling that the people that are enjoying it maybe haven't experienced maybe Resident Evil in VR or maybe Half-Life Alyx in VR to understand.
What it felt more like to me was Here They Lie. Did you guys play Here They Lie on PSVR? Because that also came with. It came with like a lot of people had a negative reception to that. I didn't, because I liked it. It was more like one of these walking poetry, just odd VR games that at launch of PSVR, it was like, wow, they're coming out the gates with something like this. It felt like a David Lynch film. So I like when developers, like, you know, take risks. And this one doesn't feel like risk taking as much. It feels like they went halfway there. Like they went halfway with the risks and halfway with the so far. And I can only judge it from what I've seen. And there are going to be people who really have liked it and are very vehement in that view. But for me right now, it's kind of like very meh.
I haven't tried it yet myself, but I see that the chat is a little bit on the fence about this one. There's some people saying that they really liked it, and other people saying that it's not really the best one out there. But I see that who was it now? It was Paradise Decay. You said that Mike and Nate might have the Alyx effect, causing other games to be.
I think that
for me myself, I think the most popular part was the art style. You know, I said it last time as well. I think it looked very much like 13. I think that is where like the innovative part comes from. But if it then doesn't really play like a comic book, then it's a little bit like, what is really new there?
Yeah, you can't build a game just on the art style and then that's it and go play the rest. As Zim said, you could have used
very different.
Yeah, but you could have, as Zim said, like the comic experience. There are so many awesome things you can do with that. If you brainstorm about that and think about, then it could have been great. So still, the comic thing has a lot of potential, but as Mike said, it has based on what the responses have been so far, it's all about how long have you been in VR, what have you played so far, what did you spend your money on that you liked, that you didn't like, things like that. But for me personally, this was a game that didn't have to exist in the first place. Maybe if they put some more work into it and they wrote a good script and gameplay that is really innovative, but they could have used that money to make something better.
I gotta give them one little badge of honor, which is I got to a segment that had both me and my wife scream out loud. Both of us. She was halfway across the room. So there are bits in it that are scary, and that one actually had me hurt myself a little bit. So fair enough, you guys did catch me off guard. And I hope there's more surprises like that the further I play into the game. I will be playing more, and I'll let you guys know what I think.
To be fair, looking at the reviews on Oculus, it's got a 90% 5-star rating.
People are loving it. Yeah.
People are liking it, but I don't know. For me, I just couldn't click with this game.
But the reviews for example, Death Lab were also super high. It's like the Quest community has a certain a standard to what they want to play, but also some people own a Quest since launch day, and then other people just own it for 2 months and they love everything they have been playing. I do feel like talk from experience for the last couple of years, I'm for example, if you give me a wave-based shooter to play, I'm like, I don't know, I'm not that interested anymore. So it wears down on you certain genres, but if there, as Mike said, if something is innovative, it's worth going back to that. So if a wave-based shooter has a total new vibe to it, I'm down.
Oh my God.
I'm totally down.
I have a feeling we're going to fight over this, but why did you just mention Abzu, Rowdy, in chat? I'm curious.
No, because there were people mentioning about, you can't make a game with an art style, but I think there are other games that have, in the flat genre, succeeded in doing that. And I think Journey and Abzu are 2 examples of that. And I think Ori and the Blind Forest also comes close. Even though they have good game mechanics, it's the art style that draws you in and makes the entire experience.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'll move on from this thing here. This one's gotten divisive. I wasn't really expecting Lies Beneath to split us so much, but I feel like as well, it's going to be like some other games where as you go through it, your opinion can evolve. So
I'll definitely give it another shot. Some people
saying that it gets better down the line. So maybe the story. I mean, like I said, I haven't tried it yet, but maybe the story is good enough to.
On the other side, it's good that this podcast echoes a different message because we're very honest about every game we have played, and this is kind of the status. And of course, you should be finishing an entire game to give your final verdict on it. I totally agree. But that's
the first hour is important
because the thing is, I've seen so many news outlets say that this game is, a truly, epic piece of. It's an okay game.
Yeah.
So
it's a very good point that you make, Nathan. I think only thing I'll add to that is, I think that gamers should be allowed to bail on a game they don't enjoy. I certainly went through a period of my life when I was like, I have to 100% a game in order to, you know what I mean? Give it its dues. Some games are just too long in the tooth. And it doesn't matter if the game's 100 hours or 2 hours. Yeah. If you're not having fun or experiencing something new, why are you playing the game? Just bail, right? Don't have this guilt trip. And
she said some of them have a great start, others are getting better later down the road, and it's you, the gamer, that decides how long do I want to put myself through it. Do I give it another chance or not?
Exactly. Speaking of problems, let's go to the next one.
Okay.
Which is a giant problem. All right, this is a PSVR game. Problem. $10, £7. By Critical Charm, released on the 1st of April. Hard to take this one seriously. This is, I can best describe it as an early access masher basher, if that was a genre. So the tagline for this one is, smash, bash, and mash away your enemies as a giant set on defending a village under siege. Command troops, sling magic, rebuild your defenses. It's essentially a tower defense game where you're the tower with a big club and a bit of magic. There are a bunch of goblins trying to steal your gold. You stop them. This is one of those, lo-fi games for somebody looking to take out a bit of angst. I've got nothing more to say about this one. They're reminding people to wash their hands, which is obviously capitalizing on the current circumstance. But it is what it is. I think it's a very simple style game. It is one of the few things coming out this week. And I have a few others that I'm going to touch on, but this one I think we shall spend no further.
It looks a little bit like something that was developed in like a game jam or something.
Yeah, it does. I would say it has a bit more polish than a game jam title, but I agree with you. I've seen probably 30 titles of that, pretty much that same gameplay loop.
If it was Rowdy, then it would have had a banana gun.
Yeah, that's the thing. It does look like that game that we covered
exactly.
2 weeks ago,
a week or
right?
two ago. Yeah.
And the red heels.
Yeah, that was awesome. So another one we've got. I'm gonna just list a couple of games here and run the trailer for Automobilista 2, which Mike gave me a heads up to, which is another racing title. So this one, again, along the lines of like Project Cars, Assetto Corsa, is a racing sim. Now, I'm not going to go into much detail for these next couple of games. I'm literally just going to rattle through because we've got, as I said, kind of like 6 that are coming up in the next couple of weeks that you should look out for while we're off retooling. So this one was out on the 31st of March. It's available. Again, kind of mixed reviews on it. There's Grip Combat Racing, which added VR support and dropped that out, which is kind of like a Wipeout style game, or the game Distance, another racing title. That dropped on the 1st of April. If you haven't seen their little trailer for the game, do it. Shows a guy vomiting all over the place. Lots of people were taking the piss out of VR on the back of that one. Form. Some of you have played and liked Form. I remember Mike liking Form.
I loved Form, yeah.
Dropping. It's a kind of a short, very eclectic kind of puzzle game.
Wait, is Form that one where you go to that mansion?
It's not a
No, that's Torn.
Yeah, you're thinking Torn. Torn v4.
Form is with electricity and okay.
It's weird. It's a weird one with like gates and stuff. So Form has a PSVR release coming on the 7th of April. So that's a couple of days away. We got Virtual Battlegrounds, which some of you have been playing the alpha of. That's dropping for PSVR on the 8th of April. Iron Lights, which I really liked, by E. McNeil. It's a battling kind of sword-based brawler on Quest and PC VR on the 9th of April, so that's coming up. That one definitely gives my thumbs up. Iron Lights is the name. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Lies Beneath dropping on the Rift on the 14th of April. So hopefully, with that little list, you will be able to tide yourself over for the next week or so, and we'll catch you up when we come back.
So Lies Beneath is like cross-platform too, right?
When you say cross-platform, what do you mean by
sorry,
that? You mean cross-buy?
Cross-buy.
I don't have information about that, actually.
I think people in the chat were saying it was.
Yes.
Okay.
That's good if it is.
People in the chat confirmed that it is.
That's great, because that means you can buy. You bought it on Quest, and now you can go check it out. Because it would have been kind of dodgy of them to launch it on Quest, then be like, here. Now it's on PC. Buy it again. I like when devs do that. I wouldn't say all devs do that. They don't all choose, but it seems to be a well appreciated decision. And I think there's probably not a huge amount of people playing across 2 different platforms your game end to end. So really, what is it to you?
It's for the people that upgrade to the next generation VR.
There's still enough coming out. I wonder if we're going to end up seeing, like Mike, what we're going to transition shortly to in the main. I wonder if we're going to see an interruption in the flow of VR games coming out. And will that, hit us 3 months from now, 6 months from now? When are we going to feel that drought? I kind of feel like it's got to happen. But we'll keep an eye for it. And again, keep telling you about the best things that'll land and some of the worst.
Okay, cool. Well, let's get into it then. Let's discuss it, because obviously we know that there is this global pandemic going on right now. It's affecting our lives, all of us. Everyone is affected by this. No one's left untouched. Of course, we don't know the full extent of what effect the virus will have in terms of the VR industry, because we're far from this thing being over. But let's talk about what we've seen so far and maybe our predictions for the future. So the obvious things we've seen so far are events being cancelled. There's a lot of gaming and tech events where VR had the potential to, show off what it was all about. As we've said many times before, VR is really important to trying it for themselves is really important to convert people that are like non-believers in the technology. And events is kind of one of those places where people get to try it for the first time. So that's a bit of a shame, obviously these events being locked down because of the pandemic, which is totally understandable. Of course, keeping people safe is the number one priority. But that is one big impact I think the industry is going to have over the next sort of few months.
I do find it strange because I would think that like if there's one technology that could like kind of like make their mark in this kind of thing, it would be virtual reality, because it has the potential of bringing people close while still keeping that distance. So I would have assumed VR companies more to like try and capitalize on this. I know Big Screen has been doing that very well, I think, but I just assumed more virtual reality companies to like kind of step up and try to like make their mark more. There are others probably who did it as well, but
it's simply they just don't know, and they get recommended other stuff. For example, Zoom is super popular now. Everyone talks about Zoom. People don't talk about VR. It's just what, as you said, like what gets market better. If you make apps now that can help you to work from home, then you should be marketing that on LinkedIn, for example, and talk more about that and get into the like mainstream. But yeah, as you say, it's hard. Like, where do you start? Like Zoom is like the main thing now. Like I constantly hear Zoom.
You got to have an established platform. You can't just make it out of scratch at this point.
But they are definitely established.
We saw at OC6 that Facebook was working on a conference, on a sort of conference call in virtual reality as well, to have your work environment in VR. So I kind of assumed that they would like capitalize on that opportunity a bit more.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will see that. But in terms of like the actual effect that it's had, like events obviously being a big one. Manufacturing, I would say, is another big one. Obviously, as we know, we discussed earlier, headsets have been out of stock since Christmas. This has heavily impacted the manufacturing process because all the manufacturing is done in China. Although they're starting to slowly go back now, although I think, it'll still be heavily impacted for months and months to come. But like you said, the one good thing that might come out of this is that the whole world recognizes the value that VR has in terms of connecting people where you don't actually physically have to be with each other. You can have that amazing social interaction. You can actually go and hang out in a pub right now, which you can't do in the real world, but you could go into VR chat and go to the great pug and chill out and the great pug and hang out.
There's gonna be like we're already seeing the casualties of this, and I think that unfortunately brick and mortar shops, which were already kind of pulling out of showing VR headsets, I bet they are gone now, the majority of them, because of this, because it's like that whole, I'm just going to wipe down a Surface. I mean, VR has a problem, and VR arcades have a problem here. You're probably, again, if I was to approach a VR arcade as someone who doesn't play VR, say I'm a mom with two kids who wanted to go do it, what are you going to say? You're probably going to say, no way, Jose. Sorry, we're not going in there because you could catch the bug. I think it's going to be traumatic for VR arcades, possibly for brick and mortar sales like Best Buys of VR. Now they weren't really, they weren't showing them off. Some Microsoft stores were still showing off Windows Mixed Reality last we were all in the States, but I think that will end up taking a hit because people will not want to be proponent to spreading.
Even the aftermath. People will be scared for the next thing to come, and will be like, arcades and stuff. Yeah, I don't know about that, or certain stories that will maybe rise. Where I don't know, but
I'm not entirely convinced on that. I mean, the virus has been around for quite a while, and we've had outbreaks. Maybe not on this scale, as this is a global pandemic, but this is still like, I don't know, like I'm still of the opinion that people are forgettable in this kind of thing, and we had a massive flu outbreak in 2009. And if you see the lessons that were learned from that, it's not that much if you see now what a lot of the response has been. So like, if you give it enough time, I still think that people will forget, and that the impact of that initially, yes, but
in the long run, no. That's the thing, like with the internet, being so much more present, the reputation of this whole virus is so huge, almost
it would be
scarier than it actually is. It's like crazy what you can, how deep you can go by just Googling stuff like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think the aftermath is pretty, because the news will just keep writing stuff, even when things are maybe getting better. And with arcades, if we're talking about VR arcades, like I would love to, what I would love to do if I don't know when things are going to get better, but when I am able to travel again, I will definitely do it, and I would love to just, see what the impact has been after all of this, and see, okay, what arcades are still around? Are they still, and what are they doing now? Or because, the last arcade I went to was the VR Zone, and it just opened in January, brand new. The Japanese folks had invested a lot of money into it, looked great. They were still kind of like, is this going to work? Hopefully, because the spot they were in was not the busiest, place in Beijing. But now it's like they didn't even have a chance in the first place.
Yeah, that's bad timing.
The moment they opened, there were already reports. So I'm curious, not only in China, but also arcades in the UK, in my own country, in, of course, America, America as well, all these arcades. I don't know what's going to happen.
I personally think there are places where you're far more exposed than in a VR arcade.
Sure.
If you think about football stadiums, if you think about concert halls, I think all of those like locations are far more dangerous than the amount of people that even go through a VR arcade. And if you wipe down the surface, I personally still think that you're fairly safe. Of course, in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, you see someone coughing on the street and you go like, oh, dang, like, should I really be walking around here? But at the same time, like, I don't see a VR arcade or any kind of arcade as like an increased risk of like getting exposed to this virus.
But it's that like net impression of the average Joe on the street. And what are they going to do? Because that's the vote with their wallet, and that's my concern. Isn't about the actual risk. It's about the perceived risk, and that overwhelming the decision that they're going to make, and that having an impact on the business. It's the same thing that we saw with fucking toilet paper, right? Only because it went like crazy on social media, that has continued to be a problem for weeks trailing afterwards.
There's a reason why I hate people,
I think the thing for me is the effect on the economy. Like the global economy is going to have a huge impact, and the problem is already VR is a very is a niche product, and it's an expensive gamble if you've never tried it before. And I think people are going to be way more careful with their money, and I think that's the problem we'll see, is trying to convince these people to part with their hard-earned cash to buy these devices when a lot of people are unemployed or out of work because of this.
Disposable
I think that's
income
my biggest worry.
Is also going to take a hit because people who don't see it yet, businesses are losing their revenue now. That will very quickly turn into, oh, I can't keep 700 people in my team. I need to cut that back to 400. I can't run on any more than that right now on what I'm earning. So the loss of jobs, we've already seen. I've known people. There's people in our industry and our environment that have already been affected. But that trail is still that trail of impact is still coming. That's the aftershock that I think is still relatively unmeasured.
And again, I'm going to disagree a little bit, simply for the reason that, to put it really crudely, I watched an economist on the news recently as well. And he had a similar opinion on this, and he said a lot of these companies are, to say really crude, or replaceable. There's someone else who will step up to that opportunity to make his own company, to start with his own kind of thing. A lot of these companies, even though they employ a lot of people, these people that are employed are likely to be hired by new companies that have new investments, have new funding available, rather than the ones that went eventually bankrupt, let's say.
But the problem is that doesn't happen overnight.
No, of course not. But the damage on the short term is already there. We're already seeing these effects because a lot of people are getting unemployed, a lot of business going out of business. So on the short term, that will definitely have effect, and it will slow everything down. But I don't see it as personally that it will cause the VR market to collapse. I don't see something like that happening. I think that it's already too strong of a market in itself, that if, for example, a certain VR business cancels, smaller one, that someone else will rise up to that opportunity after everything has settled down.
Yeah, I don't think anything will ever collapse. I just think that people will just be more careful, particularly those new to the industry, you know. Because it's like an accessory, isn't it? You know, it's like you got a gaming PC. It's kind of like a very expensive but awesome accessory. But I just can't see people, especially if they've been laid off, parting with their cash. Although you never know. Like this is how Ready Player One all came about, wasn't it? It was because the world was such a shitty place that the people had to go to the virtual world. So maybe it will spur people to flood out and buy headsets that they can't buy right now.
I think it's not only the pandemic right now, but it was also that period right before this all went down. You know, like between like December and January, where VR was finally having a peak, but then there weren't enough headsets that could be made, and then there was this high demand. The moment they were starting to, get all those headsets to people, that's where everything happened. So VR has had a even longer run from even last year, with this even in between now. That people had the money, but then they couldn't buy. Now they're gonna spend their money on something else. So a lot of potential.
I'm curious. Are you guys seeing any differences in terms of like footfall in VR games and social apps that you use? Anything like that?
So what I've seen personally, because Mike and I are full time on YouTube, I've seen a decrease in interest in VR on YouTube.
Yep.
Because people, of course, are checking the news every day for the whole pandemic stuff. It's just there is suddenly it's not a disbalance, it's just the things change, so this is kind of the standard now. But I've seen like people getting less interested in VR.
I think people's priorities have changed. But I think like I spoke to Andreas from Fast Travel Games the other day, and he did say that they've seen an increase in sales though as a result of it, because people are buying more games because they're staying at home, of course. And gaming and entertainment has seemed to have a big spike because that's all you can really do right now. So that's kind of understandable, but it's difficult when you can't get hold of the hardware though.
I feel bad for the Netflix support team because they must be getting hammered right now. Anyone with a problem getting their Netflix gets a phone call from them. It's such an interesting time though, because these dynamics, the way they play out, it's very much plus minus. Like someone's taking a hit and someone else is kind of getting the windfall, and you do see that. But I think the people, as you said, are looking back to and look this diagram, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like it's very much about like focusing on the basic survival stuff. Are the people around you okay?
Yeah.
Well, for a time period, and then there will be a time period where we stabilize. But the lasting effects are kind of what concern me more. Rowdy, to your point, I don't necessarily see VR at risk. Right? If we just look at the VR, I tend to look at the global situation with this thing. But if we just focus on VR for a moment and just think like, what's the effect on VR as a technology? Will it still have wings 2 years from now? I think we will recover and continue on the track we were on.
Absolutely. I don't think VR is going to go anywhere. It's going to slow things down, I think, for a little while.
Yeah,
I think that's so too. And I think the thing is like this is going to cost everyone money. Everyone, whether you have a job, whether you lose your job, it's going to cost everyone ultimately money to recover from this. And I think that is bad enough in one way. But it isn't in such a way that this is a situation that we won't be able to recover from as the VR industry. I think that's the point that I'm trying to get across.
That's good.
So something that I wanted to throw in the conversation is that as I said, Gamescom, PAX, Oculus Connect, Tokyo Game Show, E3, etc. Now they're not gonna happen this year for a good reason. Some of them are going digital. Very interested what that's going to be like. I think we're gonna see some innovation on that field too. But do you guys think for the VR industry in particular, are these events that important or not at this moment in time? Like, of course, as we said, we will recover from it, but how bad is it? There is
But
no
that
Oculus
brings me
Connect.
back to
There's
the initial thing that I said. I think if those game shows don't happen, that someone else would jump to that opportunity, because people still want to come together. They still want to have, like, you see that with Comic Cons, like you see people coming together for sharing a passion. And I think if E3 from now on says we're not doing it anymore, that there will be maybe a dozen lining up to take the place of E3, because there's a lot of money involved as well.
Rowdy, you're right. And we have to ask ourselves the question, right? Did AIDS stop Woodstock? No. People still got together, still made love in the fields or whatever. This is what's going to happen. As you said, people are going to forget the risk, and eventually it's not going to look so scary, and they're just going to get back together, and they're going to remember the fun times they have with their friends. And we could be in this situation again in 10 years, actually.
I just hope that lessons are learned from this, and that and maybe there are certain things in our, because I see that as well, like the handshaking. I see that as a problem going towards the future, but it's so integrated in our Western culture. Well, if you look at like the Asian culture, there's far more social distancing already present there. So maybe there are steps that we can undertake as a population that we could like push forward now, remembering these times, learn something from this, and actually push that forward.
Yeah, I do think it will drive more co-working virtual spaces and virtual collaborations and stuff like that. Schooling potentially, it will drive those technologies into the forefront, I think, which is great. But I think it will be some time until we start really seeing the benefit of that. But whilst on the subject of apps that can help us out, maybe Nathy can share some of the social sort of apps that you can go and check out in VR and sort of get you past these kind of difficult times where you can't go out and visit your friends and family, but you can legitimately do this in VR and have that feeling of presence and being around people. So
yeah,
go ahead, dude.
Yeah, so not that long ago, Ben Lang from Road to VR, he made an article about what apps can you use to work from home or be social at home, or just everything from the industrial part of working to just chilling with your friends, so he made this like long list. I just picked like a few that I think are the most interesting ones, so in this list I'm just going to start with social VR platforms, where you can, let's say, go to a podcast like this one, but then it's in VR, for example, or where you can listen to someone doing comedy, or you have a karaoke party, or you're having yoga lessons together. Like, the possibilities are pretty much endless. And there are a few apps that do this kind of stuff. The first one is, of course, Altspace VR. It's a classic. It's quite old. We have been talking about this platform before, where we thought that Microsoft could do more with it, and they still should. But because of it being a cross-platform in all ways possible, it still is very high up in that list. Because if you have, let's say, an Oculus Rift, or you have a Valve Index on PC, then you can jump into this app. But if you have a mobile VR headset like an Oculus Quest or a Go even, you can also jump in. So everyone can come together. The only platform that is excluded, sadly, is PlayStation VR. But besides that, almost every headset I know of, except for that 3D hat, works with this platform.
All right.
And the community on Altspace is great. You have the opportunity to host your own events. If you want to talk about something in front of an audience, you can. You just go to their website, you make an event, and then you schedule it for later. Like, for example, we as the podcast had a party, awesome party with all kinds of people. So yeah, you have the opportunity to just be creative, talk about a subject. Maybe you could give history lessons, or as I said, do yoga with other people, or karaoke. The list is endless. So yeah, Altspace is definitely the top one I would recommend. But there are more. We also
these are free as well, right?
Yeah, this one is free. Yeah, it is free. Yeah, totally. It is totally free. So the next one is also free. This one is very interesting and quite exotic, I would say, because it allows you to use your browser to get into VR, and this is called WebVR. if you have a Quest, then you kind of know what I'm talking about, because in the Quest you can go to your browser and then click on WebVR, and before you know it, you're in the internet. Basically, that's what it is. It's pretty next level. So this one is called Mozilla Hubs, and Mozilla Hubs is very similar to Altspace, but very dumbed down in a way where you just have to use the browser, and then you jump into this environment and you can watch movies there. You can, hang out with other people, build things, import things. You can just build your own world, where Altspace also has that option, but Mozilla Hubs has tools that are a little easier to use in that sense. So Mozilla Hubs is mainly getting used by developers. That's what I have seen, where they just, talk and they, they mod and script and stuff. But it's an interesting platform, a hidden gem, I would say.
It's kind of easy to get into. I think you hit the nail on the head saying that it simplifies what Altspace does.
Yeah.
In terms of if you need to get somebody in, it also has that ability to have a 2D non-VR person join you more easily than like the Altspace setup at the moment.
Yeah, true. And this one also works from your mobile phone. So even if you do not have a VR headset, you can still join people from your phone. It's so easy. You just, click on the link that someone sent you to that room, and then before you know it, you're in there. So yeah, it's very easy to access. And then we have, of course, Rec Room. There's not much that I need to say about Rec Room. You can go on a quest together. You can be a parkour, runner. It's all possible in Rec Room. And I think the coolest part about Rec Room is that its friend system is very nice, and where you can, give someone a handshake in virtual reality, totally safe. And then, have fun together and level up your character and get new, let's say, clothes or hats and stuff like that. You can, again, build your own worlds. And if you have ever been in Rec Room, you know that they are like awesome. People are very creative in there. It is a platform that is mainly getting, inhabited by kids. Although if you have, again, a friend group and you just do things privately, it's fine. It's super fun. And it's a very stable, platform that, again, is cross-platform. And this time also PlayStation VR can join. So if you have a friend who has a PlayStation VR, and I know that's a problem, where a lot of games you can't, if you have a PC VR headset and you want to play with someone with PlayStation VR headset, you usually can't. It's very hard. There are almost no apps that, support that. But this one, you can just play, with your friends who have a PSVR. So yeah, there you go. Rec Room, also free, by the way. It's so nice that this is all free. Thank God. And then next we have VR Chat. Boy, is this a classic. If you like to be a meme, then just jump in. As Mike said, you can go to the Great Park. It's like this club or this restaurant thing, and you can just join in there.
They have karaoke too.
They have also karaoke. Yeah.
Just keep your distance.
Yeah. And what I think is the most beautiful about this platform is that all the gaming cultures, all the internet cultures, or all the cultures that are maybe not accepted in the real world are accepted in VR Chat. So if you feel like you can't be yourself, or you feel like you're not allowed to have a certain hobby because people think it's stupid, then go into VR Chat, because there are enough people who have the same interest. And I think that's like, some people say, VR Chat's kind of weird what we have seen, but I think that's the part that makes it so nice, where everyone has their own group and they can just make their own world, chill in it, and be themselves. And if there is one thing that you want to do during this pandemic, is still be yourself, maybe in a different way in VR, but still you can. So I think that's awesome about VR Chat.
That's very well put. It's like Yahoo groups. They used to say, like, if you want to make a group, all you need is one other person. Then it's like, create it.
Yeah.
You love cats and buckets? Boom, you're gonna find cats and
certainly
buckets.
if you're really like missing that social interaction of, especially if you're someone that likes to go out regularly, in the evenings to pubs or clubs, and you're really missing that social interaction, VR Chat is amazing for that. I think.
And let's say
find the right group.
You find, of course. But
I can imagine people now normalizing to VR Chat, then being reintroduced to the population, having some kind of social issues as a
Where are
result.
all the knuckles running around? Yeah.
You know, it's awesome what you can do with a platform. Then, last but not least, in the social VR platforms section, and you know, again, there's so many more apps. That's why I would recommend you to go to Road to VR and check out the whole list. It's getting updated on a weekly basis. There's so many apps out there that you can dive into. But the last one is Big Screen. Funny enough, our podcast gets streamed to Big Screen. So if you want to watch this or listen to this podcast with other people in a cinema or in a different environment, then you can do that in Big Screen, also free. And the way Big Screen works is that you have you know, a room that you jump into, and you can connect your computer to the big screen and then use that to play video games, watch movies, or
Mike did that together. Remember that, Mike?
Yeah, we played the two of us. What was it called? Playing through Big Screen cooperatively. Yeah, that was pretty cool, actually.
That's also supported now by Steam's co-op feature, Steam Remote Play.
Yeah.
You have
so you
that
could use
ability
that
as well.
That's
you can do it.
and it would make the setup way easier. Yeah.
And only one person has to own the game in that case. So.
Yeah. So Big Screen, you know, is one of those platforms where, you know, you can share your computer screen with other people. And that makes, you know, the possibility of, you know, watching something like really together. Other things you can do is, let's say, if you really like to play Animal Crossing right now, you could hook it up to your computer with a capture card, and then have your other friend play it in, you know, in VR, and just join up and just do it that way. So yeah, Big Screen has many possibilities, and that's great. But you do need a computer for that. To make it work.
To put your own content in there, like I've played Mario Kart 8 with Big Screen before in a virtual cinema, and that was awesome. Yeah.
So there you have it. And I should also say that you could have meetings in these apps too, and you could have, you know, have calls there and stuff. They're not
dressed as a furry.
That's the thing. Like they're not officially really made for it. I think Altspace comes the closest to, but they are not really enterprise focused. So
Altspace, I'll just mention in case anyone's interested, because Altspace has integration in their web browser for Google Docs. So if you have a Google Sheet or a Google document that you want to share with a meeting or whatever, that has support. I don't think VR Chat has that yet. Not yet.
Okay. Well, maybe.
Nope.
Nice.
I don't think so.
The meeting of the furries. I don't know. The thing is, though, as weird as VR Chat can be, I like what you said, Nathan, about the inclusivity side of it.
Yeah.
Every time I've gone in there's been a really nice, unique group of people who you've met. And
I just imagine in the future, like, you know, like when everything is in virtual reality for your work and your entertainment, that you one day, like, you come into work, like, still wearing your furry outfit from the previous day. You'd be like, like, I had such a rough night. I'm still wearing my furry outfit. Like,
that reminds me, by the way, of that one episode where we were joking about the fact that we would be robots rolling into Oculus Connect. Well, actually, that's not even
actually
that bad of an idea.
The Black Mirror episode is being filmed as we speak. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we can still be there.
But yeah, I think there were some solid recommendations. Of course, if you've got your own recommendations, put them in the chat or put them in the comments of this video. We'd love to know how you've been coping with the self-isolation and what apps, social apps in particular, you've been using. Yeah.
So that was just the social VR platform part of it. Let me just quickly scroll through the things that you can also use. So let's say you want to do presentations or meetings.
I love that.
There are a few options there too. Well, a few, that's an understatement. There are like so many, because, you know, when I checked out that, you know, article from Ben, I was like, the heck, I didn't even know there were so many out there, you know. And they are like all unique in their own way, but they look very similar, so it's very hard to, you know, navigate through that. But again, I just picked some of the, let's say, more interesting ones from, let's say, also a visual perspective, and also in terms of mechanics. The first one in this category is Glue. I think the name is funny. I like it. So Glue is a modern virtual extension of your workspace. A global space where high-performance teams come together to learn, share, plan, and create. And according to Glue, it's an efficient platform that takes advantage of VR, but also recent advances such as 3D graphics and cloud computing. Yeah. So with this app, you can pretty much do the same as in big screen, but it's different in a way where, as I said, it's enterprise focused. So there is, much more you can do with it, and the entertainment side is kind of gone to a certain degree. So you can focus on, on the work stuff. So that's Glue. I don't know if we have a video.
It's interesting. I've never heard of that one before.
Is it spelled GLUE?
Yes, like glue.
Like gluing wood together.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And is this one a paid one?
This is a paid one, yeah. So all of these are pretty much paid. It's like a subscription you go for.
Just going to mention one in passing here before I forget about it. Chris Richardson says Tabletop Simulator is on sale for 50% off and works in VR. That and things like Poker VR also work as a great thing because if it's low interaction and you can meet with a group, you can talk through it. Good recommendation there, Chris. Thanks.
Yeah. Then we have Connect 2, and this is like Connect without the T and then a 2. And Connect 2 gives you an immersive and interactive experience in where physical distances become something from the past. So in this app, you can meet up with your coworkers, import 3D files that you can show off, and most uniquely, it gives you the chance to change your surroundings and make it look more like your actual office from where you used to work.
Oh, that's cool.
And if you look at the video, it's like people are in this, for example, they work in a hospital, and then they just reimagined that. And that's where they are just, having a table, and that's where they work from. So you can just jump from one place to the other and just replicate that. So it gives you the tools to just, make something that's kind of themed around your own work.
Huh.
Yeah. It's very cool. It's very cool. Yeah, I don't know if we are showing off a video too, by the way.
Not for that one. Not for that one.
Not for this one? Okay. So that's Connect 2. Then we have Meet in VR. Meet in VR lets you work together from anywhere at any time by having meetings in interactive VR spaces. And it makes sure that activities which are impossible in real life or very hard to do remotely can be done in virtual reality. And in this one, you can brainstorm, you can sketch, mind map, have team building activities. Like, as I said, every app is like focused on its own things, where in this one, you can really, show off your product that you are working on by putting it on the table and say, like, this is it, what do you think about it, let's talk, and then sketch around it, stuff like that. And I think that's nice that you are able to bring products that are usually like physical can be brought into VR, so you have a better idea of what it's looking like. And the let's say the positive side of VR with that is that products that you usually have to manufacture first to show are now, like, you could start with a blueprint and already, show it up in VR, even if you didn't make it in a factory yet. So yeah, that's Meet in VR. Then last but not least, in this section of apps, vSpatial. This one reminds me just a lot of what Oculus has with their Dash. So vSpatial is a virtual reality workspace that connects users to their computer applications and co-workers, and what you can do with this is just like big screen in a way. You can create this circle of computers of everyone and kind of make this round table where everyone just works at their own spot, but you can still talk together. There are also mini games that can be played. So this one is a little bit more playful, where you could have like a basketball session at the lunch break and just mess around or troll your coworkers by spawning things. So it's really cool. If you see what you can do with it, it's amazing. So it's a bit more, or like less serious and more, that's why I said, like, you can go real serious, or depends on what company you're, working at. And then last but not least, in the education side of things, I have Engage, and we have jumped into Engage before.
We've tried this one. This is a cool one.
Yeah, so this is an educational and corporate training platform. And what it does so well is that you can create your own let's say lessons that you want to learn to your, let's say I don't know, it could be like employees, it could be people, in school, but you can create your own lessons in VR and just make it custom to what you want.
Potential
to
on that one is like limitless.
Yeah, it's really open. You could even do like for instance like homeschooling lessons or something, and then distribute it to a community of people, that type of thing.
Yeah, so Engage is amazing for conferences, for the educational part of things, doing trainings, everything. And best of all is that you can record, let's say, something, and then let people play it back later. So you can always,
Stuff
let's say,
like
if you're
this.
sitting in school and you didn't really pay attention, or you want to go back to that moment, you can do that in VR. And
it's stuff like this that makes me like excited for like the future of education. Like imagine having classes like this like in a good few years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we tried it out, we were in like a lecture hall, right? And then someone could give a presentation at the front with like a whiteboard. You can draw on it. You can show slides, and it's like being in a lesson. It's really cool.
Yeah. So I will make sure that all the apps that I just mentioned are in the description. So if you want, you can just check out the videos and check out what they are all about.
I really appreciate you finding all of these, because I don't think these get like highlighted a lot, but I didn't even know like maybe like 80% of the ones.
There's so many more. Like trust me, there's so many more. There's one of my favorites that is totally not in my in my ball game. It's called NVIDIA Holodeck. I'm sure you have seen it before, but it's like if you watch the trailer of that one, it's like there are people working on a car. They are building this car. They can pull it like into little pieces and just work on them and jump into the car and touch the wheel, and it's like this insane app that looks so fun, even that I'm not in the same
that's crazy
workspace.
Yeah,
but that's what you can do with VR.
It's almost like a collaborative Minority Report. That's what it sounds like when you describe it that way. But like Rowdy, I never had any idea how many productivity and co-working apps there were in VR already. So it's pretty amazing that that's already happening. And these apps,
good that it gets highlighted.
Yeah, and these platforms no doubt will grow substantially over the next sort of coming months. And I really appreciate the suggestions. Just quickly, maybe run through them again. So for entertainment, productivity, and education, just run through the names.
Yes. So social VR platforms, I highlighted Altspace VR, Mozilla Hubs was the next one. Then Rec Room, VR Chat, Big Screen. I wanted to add Facebook Horizon to this as well, but sadly it's not out yet. But if Facebook is smart, push that thing out, because this is what people need right now. But I don't know. So next up, presentations or meetings. The apps I mentioned were Glue. Then I don't know why I said it like that, but okay. Connect 2. So that's connect, but then without the T, and instead of a T there is a 2. Connect 2. Then next up, meet in VR. Yes. And then V Spatial. And there's also a V Spatial version that is for AR. There are also a lot of AR workspaces. Maybe we should dive into that another time. It's also an interesting place to be in.
I love Johnny Wells' comment. He says, "I'll stick to Pavlov."
Fair enough.
Well, Chris Haney once told me that they, with their team, they were doing business meetings in like Battle Royale games. And they were meeting up in this little house, and they had to just keep talking until someone got shot and had to leave the meeting. So they had to make it quick. So maybe with Pavlov, you could create something around that. And then education. I know this segment was short. There's so many more, also in the healthcare scene and stuff like that. I just wanted to keep it short. Is Engage.
Nice.
And all of those, let's say, more serious ones are all paid apps. Yeah. But awesome
list. Awesome list. Yeah, thank you very much for that. So we've been going on for quite a while now, so I'll sort of wrap up the show. If you've got any questions, try and get them in as quickly as you possibly can, just while I sort of summarize the show again. So just a reminder, it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube and Twitch, although we won't be around for the next 2 episodes, and we'll be back on the 25th of April. Like I said earlier on, we're going to be leveling up the show behind the scenes, trying to improve things as much as we possibly can. If you've got any suggestions on how we can improve and you want to give us some feedback, email us at contact@FReality.tv, or tag us on Twitter, which is @FRealityCrew, or stick a comment on the upload of this video on YouTube. We read those as well, so let us know your suggestions. We'd love to hear them. Also, you can check out the audio version available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. I think that's everything. So we're back on the 25th. Leave a like. Make sure you're subscribed.
Leave a like. Please like this video for the upcoming 2 weeks.
All that good stuff.
I'm gonna miss doing that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are congratulating you on the list, Nate.
Okay.
It's great.
Well, just a little plug. If you want to hear about more apps, I made a video, where I talk about, it's like 19 apps in total. So if you want to have a more entertaining version with videos and cool music and me talking like, whoa, this is epic, then that's it.
Yeah. So PD says, thanks for the commitment, hosts. See you in 2 weeks. It's actually kind of 3 weeks. We're just missing 2 weeks of the show. But it means you get a break as well, PD, because you're the moderator of the show. So enjoy those 3 weeks. We won't sort of, we'll still pay you for those 3 weeks. So, you can
any
have
last
time
words?
Any last words? Everyone just stay safe. Everyone just stay safe and well. Keep well. Stay indoors. Don't risk it by going outside and doing something stupid.
Wash your hands, wash your eyeballs, your ears, and everything below.
Yeah.
Do something
if you've got a VR head, go on.
I was just going to say, take this opportunity to do something you haven't done before. Like, do something...
But inside your house.
Whatever it is. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
We in the UK get to do a jog outside once a day. But, like, whatever the rules are, just find something. This is a weird circumstance. You don't often get this circumstance. Take it as an opportunity and do something. If you got somebody with you shacked up, right, do something with them that you wouldn't normally have done. Challenge yourself, make something of this.
Like
my wife's learning French at the moment.
Wow.
I took up a course as well.
Yeah.
See,
there you go. You can learn something.
Perfect examples.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Or you can turn your house into an escape room.
That's true. You could
Isn't
do
that what we're all doing? Isn't that like that's exactly what we're living through?
But I think, if you've got a VR headset during this time, then, this is an amazing way to really escape the real world, especially with Half-Life Alyx, although it's full of head crabs and combined soldiers, it's probably more fun and interesting than the real world right now. So
watch our Twitter. I might convince the lads to do something social with the four of them timed after we do some work in the background. We'll see. Maybe any updates or if anything changes, which we're not planning to, we'll update you on Twitter more likely than anywhere else. So stay tuned to the Twitter account at FReality Crew for any updates. But we'll see you in 3 weeks' time. Take care of yourselves and have a great time in VR, of course. Until then, bye-bye for now.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.